everyone, and welcome to day 2 of Blue Talk's Amplify Your Message. I am your host, Laura Lake, and today we are joined by one of yesterday's guests. So if you didn't go watch her interview, check it out yesterday. Her name is Leanne Bourgeois.
Well said.
Yeah, I was
Good
like,
morning,
I'm
everybody.
Though my dad never taught me French. My maiden name is actually Boudreau.
Oh,
Yeah.
I
So it's
actually
like
have
half my name
friends
is the
in
same.
Mass that are Boudreaux.
Boudreaux's from where? Oh, this could get fun. Like Brett
Waltham, Massachusetts.
Oh, probably not that. So for those of you just joining us, this is day 2, Amplify Your Message. Leanne is my co-host. We're just going to play for the next hour because our first guest, unfortunately, life happens sometimes. So they had to cancel last minute. And I know getting somebody last minute to come in like, hey, do you want to be live in 15 minutes? Can be really difficult for some people. So that's okay. You and I are going to play. You and I are going to chat. But I do want to start off by introducing ourselves a little bit more than we usually do. Usually it's like a minute or two, but now we have 45 minutes to play, Leanne. So
Perfect.
for those who have never met me and you just see me as the person talking all the time on this show, my name is Laura Lake. Lake is my married name, Leanne. To a different family. But I liked the name. I was so proud of my French heritage because we're Acadian and so rare that I was like, I'm never going to change my last name. And then I met my husband, and then I sounded like a superhero, so I changed my name. So, Laura Lake, what I love to do is I love to hear people's stories because really what I'm looking for is what's behind the words that they say, what's behind the skills, who is it that's behind the business? Because Leanne and I and every other guest we have, we are not our skills. We are not the many hats that we wear. We are not our story. So then I want to know how much we know ourselves behind all of that. I call it courageous connection. Because dang, as we talked about yesterday, it takes courage to look in on who you are on the inside, which was one of the patterns in all of our conversations yesterday. A lot of that personal development, a lot of that inner work in order to get some of those exterior results, those exterior feelings, and those exterior relationships that we actually want. So I do it through storytelling. I talk a lot about emotions because it's not about the thing that happened to you. It's about your perspective of what happened to you. So that's a little bit more about me that I usually share. Leanne, can you tell us who you are and what it is that you stand for?
Well, as Laura pointed out, my name is Leanne Lorraine Bourgeois, actually, just like LL Bean, the the retail. And well, about me, I have had a very interesting travel life. I mean, I've come from Massachusetts, then I lived in Canada, based on like Ontario. I lived for a few years, and the majority of the time I lived in Canada, 21 years, was Nova Scotia. And then I moved back to Mass in 2022, and then I moved to New Jersey last year. So I am in South Jersey, if those who can see that on the map. Usually people know like Cherry Hill, near that area. And I am also a musician. So I've been playing music and being around music since I was little. I mean, my parents always had it playing in the house, and it was something we were lucky. We also had a record player, and we got to, I don't know, I remember they got all these like decades of music. So I would just whip those babies and put them down, and like Tequila. I mean, who's not going to laugh during that song? All of us knew the dance. And then if anybody's from our generation or beyond usually knows. And then it's funny, when I was driving with my dad, he would be playing like blues and jazz on the radio.
Yeah.
And also when we didn't have the record player and when I wasn't in the car with my dad, my mom would also play tons of music in her car too. And when we were at home, they always had the radio on. So we had a wide variety in our household, from Elvis to country music to obviously pop, jazz, rock, you name it. My brother used to listen to Led Zeppelin, Metallica. So we had tons of stuff. And the reason I bring that up is it's just such an important foundation to my childhood memory
Mm,
that influenced my love of music. And it's just something little add from yesterday, a little tip about my family and what it made. I mean, music is such a beautiful thing if you're lucky to
mm,
appreciate it. And I'm lucky because I can also appreciate it, but also play in it and have fun, producing that music with others or with just myself.
mm. I like that you brought up music because this whole shot, try again. This whole show is about amplifying your message. So, of course, first off, we need to know what our message is, which has a lot to do with where we came from. It helps develop the language, the types of things that we're interested in, the direction that we go, sometimes the trauma that leads us someplace else, and we learn a bunch of stuff. But then the many different methods we can use to share our message. The typical ways tend to be the speaking, the podcasting, the writing, right? So often we hear that. But how often do we hear things like singing, writing music, playing music? A lot of our Blue Talks members actually love art as well. So maybe they're
Mhm.
painting or sculpting. Those types of things can also be mediums for your message. So I want to ask you, Leanne, and then I'll kind of fill in more stories of my own life with music on the East Coast because that's what we do here. Um, how does music play a role in the work that you do with people? So can you tell us, I guess, again, what it is that you do and how does the music play a role in that?
So music, like I mentioned before, is a huge foundation. And great question, by the way. Music itself is something that I listen to, I try to do every day. So for me, it's interesting. After I went through, one of those crappy divorces that people talk about,
Mm-hmm.
and all of a sudden, and I had been, in musical theater and show choir and acting. I mean, I've done so many different things for performing. And after, I always wanted to self accompaniment. And I don't know what happened, but I knew that light was going to go out. The bulb was ready for it. I was looking at it, I'm like, you're not going to last. Anyways, so this, I swear it's a spirit. It's a spirit coming. I have no idea what's going on.
Halloween is coming, so who knows?
It wants me on the spotlight right now. You're done. Take you out.
Never.
Anyways, so with my journey with music, I just I don't know, I just started figuring out how to play. I had taken a little bit of lessons over the years with piano, and I was at the time I went to NSCC, which is a community
Yeah.
college in Nova Scotia, and this was on the Dartmouth side, so there was a music arts program. And
Oh, you went to the waterfront campus?
yes. So before I had a concussion, I couldn't finish there because once I had a concussion, it kind of took me out. So I had to stop. But before that, again, these foundational moments,
Yeah.
I picked up so much about chords and, if for a chord, for example, when you're looking at the piano, the white keys, for example, if you were to put like every time you see the two black keys, right before that key is actually a C. And if
Okay.
you go past the two, that first key is an E. And if you go up a little bit more, you got a G. So, for example, that would be a root chord. So, C, E, G. So, just giving you an idea with music. And so, I would put, what I decided to do is based on all that program, we learned a lot more advanced chords like augmented sevenths and all that jazz.
Yeah, I don't know any
But
of that.
when you put all that together, what I started doing is playing around with the piano and started picking songs that I loved because I knew them in my mind, I knew them in my body, in my cells, everywhere. And I started basically teaching myself how to self accompaniment. It's interesting. Years later, I didn't know that not everybody could do that skill. And, that was another way of me trying to put a limiting belief on myself, acting like, oh, it's no big deal. Everybody can do it. I realized not everybody can.
I don't even know what that
And
term is.
it's so humbling. And I didn't realize that I could actually do that skill. And and then when I went to open mics in Halifax areas, Dartmouth, or in downtown Halifax, for example, in various sections, I would actually be able to, get tips from other musicians. So I'd listen to different open mic hosts and et cetera. And they would give me all different things, and I would just put it into my practicing. So I became a clinician with it because I just kept working on music. And then people would give me suggestions. And so I would just start practicing that as well.
Mm.
And so it became a labor of love. And this is something that I've discovered as well. Early on when I went to Boston Conservatory, before I transferred to Dalhousie University in Halifax, Nova Scotia, I actually I didn't finish at Boston Conservatory, but a foundational point got stated on the very first day that I went to school, and from the director of the program. His name was Neil Donahoe, and he had said to us, "If you want to be in this business, you got to enjoy the work, because you do the work more than you ever do the performances.
Yeah.
You spend more time doing the work. If you can do that, then you have a chance to succeed in this business."
I'm
And
laughing
it's
because,
something that's foundational for
yeah.
me. And to fast forward to today, I'm in two bands. I am doing my own gigs.
Mm.
I also am, like Laura mentioned with writing. Yes, I've done some songwriting, so I have some aspirations to create an album, etc. But one thing I've learned from all of this with music is how much music is such a foundation for who I am as a person. It is like the glue that has kept me together. It is my life support, because without it, I wouldn't be Leanne. It's so much and it's in my family lineage too. My great grandmother played the pump organ. My grandfather was a tenor, and he also played the harmonica. My grandmother was an alto. Now, my parents, interesting enough, were not musicians, but they both appreciated and loved music. Like mom danced and such. So we all have really good rhythm in my family with music. So all those pieces, you never lose them. And I think my great grandmother used to yodel. I wonder if my grandmother did too. I can't remember that part of it. All those pieces, comes in, and then we have extended family that are musicians. So you have all this part of that's in your blood as well. That's like I said, your lineage, and um, it's just such a great history to have. And then you get to say, well, I get to bring this to the table.
Mm.
I actually get to put this out here, and it just fuels me, even when I'm down, when I'm sad. I try to pop on a piece of upbeat music. And I've actually also, I learned this from acting, to challenge yourself on the opposite notion, because life
Yep.
happens no matter where we are.
Yep.
So I have actually challenged myself when I was feeling fantastic, when I woke up and had that hop to my skip, or skip to my hop. Nice, right? I love reverse talk, by the way. And then that builds you up. But then what I would do is challenge myself, like singing like Evanescence or
Oh
something on
my
the
God.
opposite end.
Yes.
So I would challenge myself, because they always gave that concept, the show must go on. Because
Mm.
sometimes you want to be called upon, even when you are in your darkest moment, because someone else out there needs you.
Oh my God.
And
Amy
it's a way
Lee's
to
voice.
lift up and give back, even when you are also struggling.
Yep. Family. Well, music here on the East Coast is just a huge thing. Most of the East Coast is not cities, it's a lot of rural. So when you grow up rural, you have to entertain yourself. So it was a lot of music. My dad's from Cape Breton, so we brought in a lot of the Acadian music.
Wow.
Then when he moved to Pictou, it was still just music, music, music. So if you look at the
Mm.
East Coast, other than the city, Pictou County is like a hub of musical talent. Because oh my God, we've got Dave Gunning, George Canyon, mostly country because we're country kids. Uh, his his name is Fred, He used to do a lot of our high school musicals with us and do a
Oh,
lot of the
wow.
concerts
Wow.
with us. So I was like, who the hell is this George? That looks that looks like Fred. People had to tell me. That's okay. But like I grew up with it all around me. My I call them my aunts and uncles, but really they're my cousins.
I'm gonna try to change that bulb. Just give
Yeah,
me a second.
that's right. Just because
I'm
like
just gonna
if you're
tighten it. There we go. Sorry for that. Thank you.
they did music their entire lives, like every weekend.
Mm,
The singing, the dancing, the guitar playing, and everything else that they did. We weren't really invited to those. So while I knew it was in the family, I wasn't a part of it.
mm,
But what I did have was when I was younger, you and I do a lot of mental health kind of conversations. I didn't really understand emotions when I was younger. I
mm,
didn't have a healthy way of expressing them. So something like anger to me was dangerous and I should not experience anger. I would just loop into sadness because it was safer. So then instead, what I did, I was like, who are those power vocalists out there? Because I want to scream right now. And
mm.
Evanescence was definitely one of them. Raven
Oh, you
Simone, if
can't
you go back
you
a
can't
little
get
bit,
past her.
yeah, you get the Mariah Carey for the high notes, you got the Toni Braxton for the low notes, you've
Yes.
got some Tina Turner in there just because she's
Yes.
like so full of emotion. And oh my God, Aretha Franklin, like this is what I grew up on.
And
And I
even
would
Celine
go for a walk.
Dion.
Oh my God, Celine Dion. We have a joke with a friend of mine. I love Celine Dion, but still, to sound because what I would do is I would sing to help get the emotions out. And
Mm.
so I would look for the emotional singers with power vocals because I just needed to scream.
That's
So,
really
so when
beautiful, Laura. That's
yeah,
really
so when
beautiful.
a friend of mine and I we were just having like a date night together at her house, I was singing like the singers and we would take turns playing music. So then I'm like, okay, when you sing Celine Dion, because she was like, how do you sound like her? I'm like, just pretend your jaw is down and forward and then sing like that.
I
I was
love
like, I'm sorry, it kind of looks funny, but you you get the vocal of it. Like it changes enough of your airways and your larynx and your esophagus to just like shift your notes a little to sound more like her. But just kind of bringing this whole conversation back. That music helps us to feel what we need to feel. It helps us to express what we need to express so that when we choose to take our words, because words, like most of communication is nonverbal. So when we choose to take that energy and take that now clarity and understanding into words, it's so much more clear and articulate because you've let yourself feel it first.
Hmm. Well said. That's like
Oh,
just the verbiage is right on point. I found because I'm lucky, like I said, I am blessed that I'm able to play and sing. And one thing that I've noticed when I fully sing into my pieces, which I do, I I mean, you never are going to hear me not sing passionate. I just have so much joy and energy within that music, even when I'm not feeling well. It's something that it's like a switch goes off inside me,
yep.
and I
Yes.
can access all my emotions at once. It's the one area in my life that I can actually access all of them and put that all into my music. It's like putting they call it, there's a concept called sexual energy. And a lot of people always assume it's a sexual, but not necessarily. Sexual energy can also be how you put energy in your body to produce whatever you're working on, whatever creative outlet you're using,
Yeah.
music, for example. And then there's writing, of course, there's speaking, whatever way, even like, what is it, when you're using the yarn and all that and making pieces, what do they
Like
call
cross
that?
stitch.
Yeah, cross stitching. I mean, whatever that creative piece you are, whether it's painting rocks, it's when you put all your energy and focus on that thing that you're working on, and when you're in the zone, you can feel it. You feel it
Mhm.
in your body because your body is just so present in that moment. You're just there. I call it when it's like the yummy voice that comes in. It's like this, it's just so yummy. It's like so freeing when it happens. And half the time you're like, can I recreate this on stage? you
Okay,
know,
that is the hard part.
but you know what
Especially
I've learned as well? It's
mm,
okay to flub up.
I
I'll
know.
tell you, it's the commentary. This is something from acting too that I learned as is when you're in that moment and you're performing, however you're doing that, just remember the audience doesn't know what you're working on. They have no idea. They have no idea what's going on inside. They have no idea what you're going to perform or how you're going to perform it. And most of the time, they don't even notice because they're not you. You're the one who prepared the work. And so when you're in that moment and you put that opportunity out there, and it doesn't matter if you play an incorrect chord. What I do is there's a thing called positive self talk that people talk about. A lot of people are like, oh, what if that is? And the eyes roll. Positive self talk is really how you respond to your own self judgment. So
Mm,
if you support the self judgment, then that's going to be the blaring thought. But if you confront the self judgment and give that self judgment evidence by positive examples, for example, I am a great person. I'm a great person because I take care of my home. I make sure I take care of my medication that I need for my health. See,
mm,
now there's evidence. You give you three. So that's just one example, right? One part. Another part could be I'm so proud of me because I graduated from Dalhousie University with an acting degree in 2006.
oh, did you?
Strong evidence, yes. And then another piece was I decided after 21 years to finally move back to the States, my home. And so there's the evidence. So now what you're doing is your brain now is connecting to more evidence of why you're a great person. And so, why I bring that up with the music part and the acting perspective is in that moment when you feel that you're making a different note. I love to use sarcasm with my own brain. Oh, that was an interesting note. We didn't use that one before. And I'm not saying I talk with the British accent, but you know what I'm saying.
Sometimes we do. You're right.
It's true. But it's that, you know what I mean? That mindset shift. So that way, and another thing is always go towards and work your best to get to the end. So
Mm.
that's how I look at it. As I look at it, it's like this objective. How can I get to the end strong? How can I finish strong? Because the last note is the last impression. So how are you going to leave it?
My last note tends to be a very long and powerful belt. So, yeah, okay, it makes it worse because I'm having breathing issues and there's a lot more cracking in my voice than there used to be. And I
It's
also
called
can't
going over 40. Just
you
so
shush.
it is. It's because think of it this way, right? Your larynx is
Mhm.
adjusting as we age. So all you need to do with that is just be supportive, be gentle. Again, it's that self talk. And just be like, okay, we're just going to work on this a little bit more gently before I start to sing. And
Mm.
in acting, we learn different exercises to warm up before you even sing a scale.
Yep.
Just doing a gentle, just gently. And then I do a woo. And then there's another one called ah. And
Yep.
all that's doing, no pitch, just letting the voice just gently, and just do that a few many times, just different
Mhm.
sounds like that. And then go into scales. And what that does is it just wakes your body up, it wakes your voice up to say, hey, I'm still here. And this also can tell you if you're dry and you need to drink
Oh
more
god, yeah.
liquid. That usually what it can tell you right there. If you
But if
have
I drink too much,
allergies,
then
you're
I
going
have
to
to
feel it
pee a
here.
bajillion times.
Pardon?
I said, but if I drink too much, then I have to pee a bajillion times during this whole 4.5 hour live. So I'm like, don't drink a lot of water. But then
Well, that's
before I
going to happen
start,
no matter what you do.
oh, I
It
know.
right? But
Yeah.
it's that gentle, again, it's being gentle. I get frustrated like anybody else, but it's how we come overcome that, right? It's how we change and adjust it. You know what I mean? So what's worse, if you put yourself down when you're feeling that way or when that sound is not the way you want it to sound,
Mm.
that's when you got to confront that voice and say, look, you know what? I'm trying here. I'm doing something for me today. And I'm doing this in this moment. I am going to enjoy this no matter what sound comes out today.
Mm.
Because the only person in that moment that's there is you. So the only judgments that are being heard are coming from you.
Except for
So what we
backstage.
do,
When I was like, I hope you can hear the music and not just me. No, before I go live, what I really like to do is I like to put YouTube on and just play some of my favorite songs that are, of course, like Adele, Zara Larson. I've got, oh yeah, and Laureen is one of my favorite vocalists right now because she has
hmm,
so much emotion.
what's her last name? Laureen.
No, she just goes by Laureen. So
Oh, that's it.
Lrn.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the
She's
song that I'm in? I'm just trying to think. What's like a.
Euphoria was probably her most
Oh,
popular.
okay. Okay. Where is she from?
I want to say Sweden.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Like she's top of the Euro charts.
Did you notice my cup has a tree on it?
I did. I
No
did.
pretty.
Mhm. Oh, okay. So before I forget, because I totally will, I want to redirect the conversation because I'm loving this, but it always ties in. I have this deck called the Gratitude Deck.
Oh,
And really,
beautiful.
there's different aspects to it, but I want to go with the reflection aspect just because it comes with questions and comments that help you reflect. So I'm like, oh, there's going to be something related. So I would love to just shuffle, and I have this rule with my deck because they're huge cards, so it makes it easy. I do not pick one ever. It has to fall out or flip over.
Were we in the same zone? Because you're going to laugh.
Did
So
you have a deck
you're
too?
going to laugh. So I've got some decks here, okay? I got a Starseed deck. Oh,
Oh, you had full spiritual. Got it.
okay. This is a tarot deck, okay?
This is
And
like
then
a
we
secular kind of.
this is Akashic Records deck,
Oh,
tarot.
tarot. Hmm.
And this is also another tarot deck that I love because it has, because I saw the symbol in your deck there.
Yeah.
This has a chakra card that comes with,
Ah.
okay? And a little explanation of how to prep before you actually read a card. It
Yeah.
also has the planets, okay?
Yeah.
The
I don't
different
understand.
planetary signs. And it also has the zodiac signs. And so when I saw yours, you had a moon in the middle of that reflection card that I saw there.
Yes.
That was in the center.
Yeah. And I think the sun, yeah, the sun is on the other.
Yeah, so like the moon itself, for example, on this, just because I think it really does connect, it stands for feelings and instincts.
The
And
sun?
the sun stands for the conscious mind and the
Ah.
ego.
Okay. So I've noticed that there's the three different types. One is like a setting sun or a rising sun. That's the full sun. And then the moon. It's like I never
So
noticed that.
beautiful.
But I
Yes,
got this one because it doesn't have any sort of spiritual connotation, religious or universe wise. And so
I
I,
love
I can
that.
I can help bridge conversations more easily this way. So the one that fell out, here's the quote. I have loved the stars too truly to be fearful of the night by Sarah Williams. But then here's the reflection part that we want to look at. Send compassionate energy toward a person who has hurt you in the past. Your wounds are your greatest points of growth. So I'm going to ask a question based off of that. You don't have to tell us who, but I would like you to think of a person that has hurt you in the past. And then coming from a place of love, what is something that you would say to them with that whole idea of gratitude? Because that's what the whole deck is about. Plus, we just did the Canadians' Thanksgiving. So we'll stick on the gratitude side.
I love that.
How have they helped you become the person you are today?
Well, I will say this, my recent breakup last year in
Mhm.
December, I I will tell you this, if I had just one sentence, I would say, thank you for triggering me in the area that I didn't realize was still triggered.
Mm,
And thank you for bringing me closer to my dreams.
yeah.
That's
I
it.
think I would say to mine, thank you for teaching me about boundaries Thank you for teaching me about self-love and
Mm,
self-respect. Thank you for teaching me about unconditional love. Yeah. And that I really can do this. I really can. Yeah.
that's good. That's a nice
Uh,
way to say it.
and if anyone has any like similar comments, I would love to see them in the chat. Like, again, you do not have to tell us who this person is, but just from that place of gratitude, what would you thank them for? To be like, I know shit happened. We don't need to know about that. But like, what did you learn from them that was positive? What did you learn that helps to grow you? Because no matter what that is, as you'll see with our things, when I talk about boundaries and when you talk about that person, I can just watch your eyes kind of go, oh, I think we know who you're talking about. Um, how has how have those changes really impacted your message? So how has your message evolved since then, Leanne?
I remember there was a question that my ex asked me one day, and it was, what does Leanne want?
Ooh. Mm-hmm.
No one who I've ever dated has actually asked me that, and not just once, multiple times.
Oh, wow.
And I thought I knew. I really did. See, as soon as I knew about New York and Broadway, that was my dream.
Oh,
Okay.
yes.
That was my journey. And it still is a dream, by the way. It's still a dream, even through all the challenges I've been through, even though it seemed far away.
Mm-hmm.
I'm closer to it. I am 2 hours away now. So I'm in the vicinity of where I've always wanted to be.
Yeah.
What I've learned is there's some other dreams that also have value. But you know, when we attach ourselves so much to a dream, we sometimes block other ideas and creativity from actually entering when
Yep.
we overly attach. It's almost like super glue. We super glue ourselves to whatever that thing is that focused on. And when you're so hardcore focused on it, you block something. And what I was blocking is the idea that I am a mixed media artist.
Mm-hmm.
I have a multitude of areas that I create that I want to put together as a business. And that's what I'm working on right now is having them all together. That is my painting. You can't really see it too well but there is a
Oh,
painting that's kind
yes.
of
Yeah.
partially there because of this. Let me see if I can do that a little bit. Yeah, it's kind of a little bit odd angle, but my point is that is, for example, something that has always helped me, which is to paint.
Mm.
Writing. I've been writing since I was a little girl. My mom gave me a diary, and I still have that somewhere. This little tiny book. Remember, it had the keys. Remember, everybody, with the little key that you had for your diary. Oh my
This is
God,
my first diary.
yes,
The little
that's
keys, right? And your
exactly,
little
yes,
button.
that is it.
You open it up. Oh, and then the horrible writing, right?
Or back then, I think we were in cursive land. And then you probably kind of go back. I know my family used to call me person who was chicken scratch,
Look at
kind of like
that.
a
Oh, yeah.
doctor.
It's horrible.
But the beauty of that is just being able to express your feelings. You say you had trouble, but really, you writing is expressing your feelings.
I
And a
know.
lot of people don't make that connection. Writing is expressing.
Mm.
So we don't have to always recognize the feeling within us because sometimes we get blocked and we can't. That's okay. Use another medium to get it out. Painting is such a beautiful expression as well because you really are just focused on this activity of putting all these colors on a canvas. Whatever that canvas is for you, it could be a piece of wood, like I said before, it could be a rock or an actual canvas. And so those pieces. The other thing is photography. I didn't realize how much I love taking pictures of deer. And I learned that a lot this year. Also, I just love taking pictures at, various moments in my life, and I just enjoy it. And I've made actually some really cool pictures that people appreciated who are actually photographers. And I was like, well, I'm not a photographer. I just like taking pictures. But in reality, it's that love or like that can show how you see through your lens, right?
I'm
It's
just
what you take is what you're actually in awe over. So you
mm,
take all these pieces. So that's what I've learned this year is my medium is all of these mediums.
yep.
And speaking, I have spoken since I was a little kid. I didn't realize that until recently. I started writing, putting together. I spoke at my confirmation in high school. Um, Me and another guy in my class, we had both spoke, and our confirmations for our, like in Massachusetts where we didn't have it till 11th grade. So I spoke at that point. So that was my earliest moment of speaking. Plus, before that, actually, way before that, was acting, because playing lead roles is speaking. And
Yep.
I think sometimes people forget speaking is speaking. So, how do you project your voice? I, as an actor, project my voice and speak my message. I'm playing a character, yes. And I understand when you're speaking, you are yourself.
Mm.
But through acting, you are also need to know yourself so you can understand the differences between you and the character you're playing.
So while you were chatting, I created an Instagram account, not for anybody else, but for me, so that I
Oh,
can put some of my favorite pieces of photography when I go for walks. That's it. So
I
then,
love
like,
that.
I have all these pictures of just things that I found on my walks. Oops, here we go. Right? And actually, this one is one of my favorites. It was a leaf caught in a
Oh, I
chain
love
link
that.
fence.
What a
And
great
that's
shot.
exactly how I felt in that moment. Was I was a leaf blowing through the air, and then I was caught in this fence, and I couldn't get anywhere. It was driving me nuts. And as soon as I saw it, I started crying. And then I took that photo to remind me that I'm not always going to be stuck, but I feel stuck right now.
I love that. That's
And then this
beautiful.
whole page is not about the photography, it's about those inner quotes to ourselves. So then I wrote, feeling stuck. A random gust of wind can pick us up and shove us into hard to get out of places. Do we stay lodged in a chain link fence, or do we learn to be flexible and release ourselves? Our rigidness is what can sweep us to begin with, and it's what holds us back instead of going with the flow. So I ask myself, how do I become more flexible? Like the whole thing is the self awareness piece with my photography. And then painting I'm getting back into, and the singing I'm getting back into. It's just like all of it connects, because if we can learn to express ourselves in any way, again, it helps us to express ourselves in the speaking, in the podcasting, in the writing when it comes to our message and our business.
That's right.
All of it.
And I think through, like, when you're putting your focus on creating, what you're actually doing is you're giving that part of yourself a chance to be seen. And sometimes when we block that, when we deny it, we're not allowing ourselves to be so connected. We're actually disconnecting when we avoid it, when we deny its existence. So create, 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 put it out there. It doesn't matter what people think, because really all that matters is what you think. And if you judge your work, you leave room for others to judge you. If you love your work, you leave room for people to love your work too.
One of the things I started doing, because I'm so afraid of the judgment and the rejection, because that's my past stories, is because I love to sing. I started doing my intros for the Experts Bootcamp, which is happening this weekend, people's free entry. Oh my God, 3 days of awesomeness. So day 3, the coaches and the MC, aka me, we have to introduce ourselves in 60 seconds. And what I started doing is that morning, usually 20 minutes before our coaching call, I write lyrics to a song that's already existing, and I just write my own lyrics, sing it to that tune, so I don't have to write everything. And then when we introduce ourselves, I shakily voice my shaking voice, whatever. I'm shaking. I want to bawl my eyes out, and yet I'm singing that introduction to people. And I'm probably going to do it again, but I might give myself more than 20 minutes. Just because it's getting me out there. It's getting me practicing. It's getting that process continuing over and over. So our next guest
I
is
love
behind
that.
the scenes. So I want to make sure, like, I just want to kind of recap what we were talking about for the last 40 minutes.
Sounds good.
Was there something that you liked or that stood out to you?
I think just when you mentioned expressing your feelings and feeling that for the longest time you had a disconnect or you couldn't identify, but I think realizing that you were connected to your feelings, you just didn't realize it until maybe now. That writing when you were a kid was actually expressing your feelings, but for some reason you discounted that, and that's where we get into like a limiting belief. But I'm so glad to hear that you've grown beyond that and have actually started to channel more in it and realize that that is also okay. We don't always have to be loud with our voice for our feelings to be real. We can be silent and just write it down, and no one else has to read it, and it's still a feeling.
Yep. I love that. I think you bringing up, like right at the very beginning of all of this, you bringing up the point of music being a huge part of your life. And I know it's not just you, and I know it's not just me, and I know it's not just East Coast Canada. Many of us have a layer of music that helps us to be able to understand and express our emotions and our feelings and just life in general. So to understand that music can also play a role in how we share a message, even if we think of it as the chorus of a song. Why do we remember the chorus of a song? It's usually repeated. It's usually got something in it to catch your attention, so some sort of hook, whether it's a high note, whether it's a repeated sentence again, whether it's really easy words that everybody can do, or it's faster. Like something is different about it that we just want to know.
Right.
Uh,
You made me think of I don't know why in my head. As soon as you started saying repeated thing, I just got to the notion. I got you, babe. I don't know why, but it's you were talking about like it can be simple, right? But think about that.
so
That is the
easy.
I got you, babe, right? Share and sign.
Because what
So
is it that we share? We share the chorus.
right,
It's not very often that we share other parts of the song, that we can, but it's
right.
almost always the chorus.
Yes.
So, what is the chorus of your message? What is the chorus of who you are? What is the chorus of your business, your story, etc.? Your passions, your creativity. I just love all of this. But our time to play is over now, Leanne. We talked a lot, and we'll let our guests talk now. So,
Sounds great.
I want to make sure that I get your name right, but I'm going to call you Yasia right now. I don't think it's a J. It is a J. If I knew where it came from, then I could put the proper pronunciation on all the vowels. Okay, just give me a thumbs up if you're ready to come to stage with us. Awesome. So is
Hi
it
there.
Jasia?
Jasia.
Jasia. So I
So
was right
pretty.
the first time, and then I was like, I don't know. Maybe I don't know.
Well, it's a name that everyone gets wrong, so don't worry about that at all.
But
And
that was my first instinct.
what was that?
Jasia was my first instinct, and then I was like,
There
no,
you
I've never
go.
heard that name before. It probably has a yay or a yay sound, a Y sound instead of the J,
It's a
because I've
J.
heard that one.
Well, I was born with the name Jill, and Jasia came later in my life. And in fact, just today, I'm as of 3 days ago, someone hacked into my Facebook account because it wasn't meta. Because I went by Jasia, and I'm like in this like process. You know how that stuff goes. So I'm like really going, gosh, maybe I'm gonna have to re-put all my accounts up as Jill because Meta won't verify. So, anyways, that's just my thing today. But Jasia is how I've been calling myself for many years now. Over,
Oh,
gosh, over
wow.
30
Are you
years.
in a yoga studio by chance?
This is my home studio. I teach, well, I do a lot of things, but I help people use dance and movement and breath work to free up, self-sabotage, invisibility, release trauma. So this is it's my home studio in my center.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
I know.
Gorgeous.
Thank you. Oh,
And
that's
I
my honey's
have to
little
know what
rise
the
up and
sign
dance.
says.
Say that again.
I said I have to know what the sign says because it's going to distract me. What does it
It
say?
says rise up and dance.
Oh, I
And
love
really,
it.
the important piece is the rise up, because some
Mhm.
people are like, well, I don't feel like dancing. But the whole point is, for me, dance is definitely not about following steps. It's about freaking getting into your body and feeling safe. It doesn't matter your age, your body type, what people ever told you about your ability to move, because inside our bodies is our internal GPS, right? It's the place where our intuition lives. And for so many of us, we get shamed out of our bodies. We get just taught to be in our heads all the time because we're so busy. And when we come back to the body, we get like 98% of our faculties come back online, including our emotions, frozen trauma, creativity, access to divine guidance, all sorts of stuff. So I'm all about movement. Yeah.
The first thing I thought of was the movie Sing, where the lady pig,
Oh.
Rosita, she starts putting down all of these sheets of steps with so many numbers and squiggles. And you watch her trying her best to like go on the feet. And then when she really gets into it, she just blows everybody away because she finally surrendered, our word from yesterday, herself to the music and the feeling of the music.
Isn't that the truth? It is so is about surrendering, the feeling to the music, and whatever feeling that's bringing up inside you is where your best like freedom is going to come from. And that's going to create movement unlike anyone else's.
Just do this a lot.
There's something about getting inside your body and just being able to, oh my gosh, I remember because I was having such challenges this year with my body, and I've had it before, but this year for some reason there was just something. And I remember one day and I put on all this music and I had the space and I just danced. I danced for a full hour and just allowed my body to just move. I was doing some pirouettes and I was just kind of just letting myself go. And it was just so nice just to put on some really great music and just boom, putting it through.
Oh yes, you're speaking my language, Leanne. And I caught about music too, because for me, like, it's about expression, it's about singing, it's about dancing, it's about letting go of ideas that you can do anything wrong, and like finding that internal perfection that was always there, that we were born with, that we lost touch with, maybe never were mirrored we had. Yeah, so I resonate completely with what you're saying. I'm so glad you put on music. I tell people to do that all the time. I do it myself.
I forget sometimes. I get caught but man, when that night, I don't know what it is, but there's a song by, what is it? Madonna, and I don't know, one of her songs. Every time I listen to it, it just gets me going. I'm trying to think of the name, but
is it old school Madonna or new school Madonna?
No, old school Madonna.
Now, what's the chorus? What's the chorus?
I know.
When it comes to my brain, I will tell you. But it's just something about like putting those great songs on and your body just, and I just thought of some too. I remember when I was in Boston, I used to go in there. Sometimes I would, because I love taps so much, I used to tap my feet at waiting for the subway train because it was so boring. Everybody's just standing there. And so I would just start moving my feet.
Oh gosh, yes. I don't know how many people can relate to like just being anxious. And like for me, I'd always like rock as a little kid or wiggle my feet. I needed to be like, and when I felt most at home, no matter what, when I was sad, when I was happy, when I was angry, I'd be like, whether, I'm 56 today, guys. It's my birthday. Can you believe it?
No, you don't look it.
So I'm going old school because I'm 56. So when I would, back in those days, I'd be putting on my record player and I'd put on the record and I'd go down my basement and I would move. And it was like, I would come home to myself, every time.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. I'm having my cup of coffee early here. Hi, good morning.
We're going to sing you happy birthday.
Thank you.
And then you get to blow out the candle.
I love it.
So,
I got a wish
ready?
list.
We're going to sing happy birthday to
to
you. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday, dear Justina. Happy birthday to you
Good
and
luck,
many
Cal.
more. I love that. That's so pretty.
I was like, I just don't want it to continue to smoke afterwards.
There we go. So we look like we're having some fun on here. Tell me what.
We always have fun.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Anytime you talk about music and creativity, I'm there. So let's go.
Well, it's interesting. My background, I trained as a therapist. I worked as a therapist intern, and then I trained as a master shadow coach. And then I had training I'm a 5 rhythms teacher, training as a breathwork facilitator, a somatic experience trained in meditation and mindfulness. So I had like all these tools in my bag, and I've been working with people for 3 decades. And recently, I mean, I've always had I'm teaching dance classes over here, dance therapy, really. It's more like 5 rhythms and rhythms of acceptance and workshops. And then, I've been teaching breath work over here. I've been doing my coaching. I've been doing my therapeutic stuff. And eventually I started realizing that the people who are moving, healing the quickest, breaking through into their dreams, were the people who didn't just do one of my modalities, but did all of them. So the past few years, I've been developing this thing called Rise Up and Dance, which is this program that includes all of it. And it's for people who are super busy, who forget to move. It's like you turn on, it's a daily program, and I'm there with you every day. You just have to have like a half hour a day. And then there's like movement, there's meditations, there's journaling, there's a weekly lesson, and then there's like a group process or even an individual process with me, depending on what level you sign up with weekly, to like take it way deeper. And it's, the reason I developed this is because I went through a really, really extreme experience where I had to, and it's in my TED Talk, where I chose to go to the trial of one of the 2 men who, when I was 27, raped, kidnapped, assaulted, almost murdered me. They were in jail for decades. And a couple of years ago, I got asked to speak at that trial, a parole trial. And I freaked out, and then I chose to go. And what got me through is I literally danced, shook, breathed. I used all my tools of all the years. I didn't even think I had anything still stuck in me, but the energy that happened when I was in this experience, reliving, because it was a 4-hour trial, if you can imagine, going through every freaking detail, and also learning all about this guy's life, his background, where he's been. Didn't even recognize the guy. He looked completely different. We both changed, years and years down the road. And I used all these tools, and I got this surge of energy came through me like, I can't even begin to describe it. You guys, it was like being struck by lightning. Everything came back online. And I was already, working really successfully in my world with people for decades. But when that happened, I knew it's like, suddenly I had to get on a TEDx stage. 3 months later, I was on it. Suddenly I had to publish my book, and it won 3 awards in self-published, 9 months ago. Suddenly I was on the billboards. It was like all these things I didn't even think of. And it was based on releasing the depths of that trauma to be able to share the depths of that story. And in confronting it with love and using my tools, and realize, oh my God, like I've done it. Like, and this is a tool that everyone needs, not just for extreme trauma, but I've used it my whole life, stress, to find joy, to access creativity, So, all right, I'm going to stop talking. I'm just sharing. But I'm like, hey, that's what I'm up to. So
I love it. I appreciate your candor, and I'm so sorry that you even had to go through that. It's interesting how trauma can show up in so many different ways, and it can fuel our lives. And it stinks that sometimes we have to go through trauma. At the same time, sometimes by going through that, it creates this seed inside of us that grows into something beautiful if you are willing to take a look at it and allow it to prosper. And it's like the dance. It's like interpretive dance. It's something where it just comes out of you, and really, because you can't suppress it anymore, because you know something, and you survived it, and you don't want anything to change with that. You get to bring that to others, and that is like a seed that keeps growing and giving and giving. It's like a bud that you can always keep plucking from, and you can spread that crap all over people. You know what I mean? You shoot it away. Like, what are those those planes that, they put the whatever over plants and stuff. That's almost like what it is. And it's just beautiful that you did that with your life,
Thank you. 100%. What's interesting is like, that was just like the icing on the cake of many, many difficulties. And I believe people who are amazing healers, are people who have done exactly what you're talking about, that you have a choice, and the choice is you're either going to thrive or you're gonna like not make it. And that I had to work for it. You know, there's been multiple extreme losses. My brother was killed by a drunk driver when I was young. My best friend, only sibling. I don't want to get into my whole story, but the point I'm trying to say is that that is what drove, that was the fuel, the passion I had to help people, came from thriving through trauma and being determined to find a reason to stay alive and to help others. Because when you wake up as a young one, like that happened when I was young, when bad things happen when you're really young, it's a nightmare. And I lived in a beautiful, like wonderful home life for the most part. You know, so many people would be really happy. And I was generally like, I thought life was all sunshine, and then it completely collapsed. And when that kind of shock happens, you guys, I'm sure and most people have had some sort of shock, not everyone, but with that extreme shock, when that happens, you have to change your world perspective in some way. If you don't, and you just lived in a place that everything looked fine and no one talked about hard things, you shrivel up and you die. There's nowhere to go. You're unrelatable. So I had to go. I went on a search, you know, and I've spent 30 years doing exactly what you're saying, transforming, pain and loss and grief and rage into joy. And I think that's why the dance has been so good too. Is it's the one thing that, like, for me, movement, breath, it accesses life force. It accesses joy. It's a reboot. It's in the present moment. It's not just going over the stories and making meaning of them from the intellect, right? It goes way beyond. I know singing too. I heard you're a singer. And Leanne, I don't know what you do, but I got pieces.
Yes, I sing. Yes.
Both sing. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, you sing, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So we got singing and dancing.
Beautiful. Just beautiful. It's it is amazing how some of us are just so blessed with being able to have the strength to bring that out, because we all get that choice. I remember someone said to me many years ago, you get to decide. You can either sing for yourself and just for yourself, or sing for others. And someone said, I hope you sing for others too. And, but it's whatever that expression is. I think it's something about, and I think there's another concept I learned too. As long as you reach at least one person, then you've done your job.
Isn't that the truth? I mean, I'm sure, for me, you guys were talking about songs, like song lyrics saved my life. I heard people singing about emotions that no one was talking about and feelings that no one was talking about. So it was like, I was glued to the radio back in those days and to the record players. It was my life soundtrack. I mean, you talked about those courses. I laughed. I'm like, oh yeah, I speak that language. Like, the thing that gets stuck in your head. I always tell my groups that when I lead retreats and workshops, I'm like, okay. And I sometimes start the circle by saying, go around and introduce yourself by the song that's stuck in your head right now. And I make everyone sing, whether they can sing or not, like 2 lines of that exact thing.
And
it's fascinating. What happens in the group is, as you can see, like everyone's got a different emotion going on through that song, and that starts introducing people in a whole different way. It like brings in some fun, brings in some creativity, but it also gets people to understand, like, why is that track running in my head right now rather than this one? And everyone sings it back and laughs with it, because we do live through the language of the soul. Like, I'm a soul, like embodied soul coach. And that's, we embody our true self through music, through dance, through breath, through creativity. And a lot of us think we don't have any of that talent. And it doesn't really matter. Believe me, I'm not talented at any of it. If you heard me sing, you'd be like, oh my gosh, please stop. In fact, I had someone coming on my summit who's a voice teacher, and she said, you want to do a trade? I'll come to your dance things for some singing lessons. I'm like, my whole life I wanted to sing. Yes. So I'm like, I'm going to take that on too, even though I'm completely tone deaf, because I believe if we want something, there's nothing we can't attain,
It's not that you're tone deaf. It's that you're inexperienced in recognizing tone.
I like that.
I'm teaching my daughter how to sing, and she always thought she was tone deaf. I was like, no. You tend to sing like this. You can't hear anything that you're saying. I was like, lesson number 1, take off the headphones.
I finally got the song of Madonna's that I was thinking when you were talking lyrics and everything, and then you mentioned material. Material
Oh,
Girl.
Material Girl. Mm-hmm.
There's something about the way that, right? It's something about the music with that. You know why? It takes me back to college. When I was at Dalhousie University, we got lucky because I was one of the dance aides. So I was able to help like the third years when I was in my fourth year.
Mm-hmm.
And so because of that, one of the girls, the dance teacher would give her the key to the studio. So I was able to get the key to myself. And I was able to go into that studio with all the mirrors, could turn the lights on. Because in acting, actually, there was a director of Shakespeare by the Sea, Patrick Christopher. He
Oh,
was
yeah,
actually able to, when we used to dance my first year at Dal in the theater program, he would shut off all the lights and we'd have like flashlights. We'd have different things that we would do a lot of stuff in there. So when I was there by myself, that was one of the songs I would put on and I would just go nuts and I would go around because he also played one of the songs from Moulin Rouge, the Roxanne, from the movie. My favorite thing. If you ever listen to that loud, go into a studio, blast that shit. Because when you're in there, it is the most, there's something about the way that song builds in every way, the violin solo, everything. And it fuels your body. And it's like, my body cannot not move when I listen to that song.
Yes.
So this is going to happen all day long, but every time you guys say something that has song lyrics in it, that song keeps playing in my head. So Jessia said, sing it back. So I have Moloko in my head. And then Leanne said, get lucky. So then I have, oh my God, I just lost it. The mathematical technical one from the 2000s.
Get lucky.
Oh, I'm just going to have to look it up. Get lucky. Get lucky. Daft Punk. There we go.
Yeah, Daft Punk. Yeah, exactly.
I was like, I got it before I Googled it.
Fantastic.
Now that one I don't know. But you also said, what was the name of the musical that you just said?
Moulin Rouge?
Yeah, Moulin Rouge.
Yes, Moulin
So
Rouge.
then I have Christina Aguilera singing Lady Marmalade.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that song, I mean, that song is so iconic for the film. And it's so, I mean, all of us would sing it. Hey, sister, soul sister, right? Everybody would do it.
Oh, listen to those voices. I hear that.
I went to.
I had no idea this morning's thing was going to be like a singing and dance party. This is way fun way to wake up on
I
the first
agree.
morning.
I think we need to do one of those one of these days. That's what we got to do is do like a dance movement morning. How cool would that be?
I offer those every Thursday morning online and in person. And I'm actually, I don't know if you guys saw, I've got a free summit going on that anyone can come to. And if you do the VIP, you get to come do a dance party and a breathwork party.
Where can we get your link?
So it's www.freedomflourishsummit.com. If you go on Instagram, Corey is speaking at it, actually. He'll be advertising.
That's why he was busy today. Okay.
He's not speaking at it today.
Well, he's speaking at 2 or 3 different events over the next couple of days. So he's like,
okay,
it wasn't not available.
Yeah, that one's not mine.
So
mine
you said Freedom Flourish.
You go www.freedomflourish.com. It should say, is it coming up?
Yes,
Summit?
it did.
There you go. You can register that for free. That is it.
If anybody wants to see, that's what you're going to.
25 different experts of all different ways talking about what it took. Like I interviewed people, authentic, like heart stories about what it took to break free because they're all living their dreams in some way. And it's a very diverse panel, but it also is going to include a lot of prizes and experiences and some events with me if you choose. And yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun and it's free. Awesome. And it goes for 30 days. So if you're bored in November, rather than a glass of wine or Netflix, you can listen to some inspiration because you can access it anytime. So.
Nice.
Love that.
I like that. So Jessia, we actually forgot about my favorite question that I start every interview off with because we just having so much fun. I love it. But I'm doing research with it. So I want to make sure that everybody that I interview, I at least get the answer and then we can go from there. So here's my big question, Jessia. If you could have other people describe you in 3 words, what would you love those 3 words to be?
What would I love those 3 words to be?
Mm-hmm.
Joyous.
Yeah. See, I love putting people on the spot.
Heartfelt.
Heartfelt. Mm-hmm.
Mm.
And what's the word for it? Depth.
Ooh. I like it.
Felt that.
Joyous, heartfelt, and depth.
Mhm.
Why
Well,
those 3 words?
That's really who I am. And it's interesting. Well, the joyous is not always who I am, but that's who I am when I'm really me. When I am out of anything that's stuck in my head. And my spirit is joyful. And I love to share joy with people and sweetness and laughter. So that's who I really am. So if that's what everyone saw me as, one aspect, I wouldn't want that to be the only thing. But if that was an aspect of what they saw, that means they'd really be feeling my vibration, right? Heartfelt is because, bless you, I am a heartfelt person, but it's funny how, I'm extremely heartfelt and authentic, and my connections are very real. When you get out here on these kind of podcasts, suddenly I'm on screens, I'm on media, you all are, we can just look like little faces that are like putting it on, and I am not someone who puts it on. I'm super authentic and heartfelt, and that I want people to get that from anything I say, from anything they experience with me. So that's where, for me, heartfelt people are what I want to see changing the world. I want to see the people where you feel their hearts. I want to see the people who are bringing the love, be the change makers. So there's that. And then depth. This one I'm saying because I feel that sometimes, especially as I've recreated this kind of new branding where people are seeing me more as because I'm not just a dancer, I'm a facilitator. I'm like a kind of a deep spiritual, deep dive in thought leader, really. And so I don't want the depth to be missed. And so sometimes people see me and they feel my joy and they see me moving and they're like, oh, she's too light, or she wouldn't get my depth. Or the opposite, sometimes they'll see my depth. Oh my God, all that trauma, I can't relate to that. I need some lighter. And I feel like it's the spectrum. So I want my whole spectrum to be seen. And I wish everyone's spectrum could be seen.
Yeah. I love that so much. I dealt with the same issues for a while, because a lot of what I talk about is really heavy stuff. Yeah. Like mental health, no matter really what you're talking about for mental health.
Mental health, totally.
It's a heavy conversation.
It's a heavy conversation.
But I thought at the beginning of all of this that it would be unprofessional of me to be my playful, joyous, bubbly self. I thought that was inappropriate because it was such a contrast to the heavy depth of the mental health conversation.
Yeah.
But what I didn't know was how to weave my authenticity into it. Yeah. So now I'm really loving the contrast of the super bubbly me and the super deep me. But then what I get to do is, because most people play in the middle, is I get to take them to higher heights that they haven't experienced before and guide them through those lower depths that they're afraid to go to on their own. But then we always balance it with coming up again, right? But if I leave them in that neutral space, then they might go back down in that guided space and not know how to come back up, which is why I always have to leave them up higher than the neutral. So what you don't know is behind the scenes, after these calls, they can get deep, and I always do a check-in. Where are people? How are you feeling? Was there anything in the conversation that still has you feeling a little uncomfortable? How can I support you right now?
Beautiful. That's so beautifully said. And I resonate with everything you're saying there. And I'm sure, I think all three, I can feel you're nodding to, Leanne, that all three of us, I think, would be in agreement to say that you cannot actually access true joy unless you've actually gone through the process of true grief and true anger. That is why the shine and the light comes through people, those joyful people, but it's not because they're just superficial or they're silly. It's because they know what it means. The freedom that comes from having broken through things brings a kind of uplift it's not a high. it's a gratitude that comes in. It's a joy to be existing in this life and to share the goodness that still exists after all the hardship. So
I have a visual analogy to just add to this
yes,
conversation. And I thought of it while you were talking. Okay, we're going to look at this pen and I'm going to try to be really good with it. This is neutral. Now, if you've ever watched the movie like Inside Out, you'll see that Joy takes sadness, her hand, and they go together everywhere because they are one and the same. You can't have one without the other. Now, what it happens is when you have a little bit of joy, you have a little bit of sadness. And if you can get to high heights of joy, it opens up lows of sadness. And same thing with the other side. Low sadness opens up potential for high joy. So it's like this wave, right? Of up and down, back and forth. If I do it this way, it's not the same, but like this is neutral and it kind of goes like this, right? You can't go up or down. It's always neutral, always neutral, always neutral, right? It's just a visual.
so good.
Yeah.
I'll pick it up. That
My
was
brain
so fun. I love that. That was a great visual. I've never seen anyone do that. It was lovely to have you do that.
That is one of my gifts. Thank you. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
trauma and beauty of being able to access the emotions when you understand them. I find too, when you go inside and you get to know all of you, not the parts you think are acceptable, but all the parts. Because as an artist, especially and a creative, the more I know me, the more I'm not going to be thrown by the challenges of life. And they will come. And so I've almost looked at life as they're going to happen no matter what I do. Actually, you know, when they talk about the straight and narrow path, right? Sarah McLachlan's song, Angel, the straight line, right? And we all are looking for that straight line. But if you notice, majority of life is curvy and has forks in the road and has big boulders in your way. And it's not easy to get through that. You have to either go around it, climb over it, right? If you're lucky, you might have something to detonate it, but most of us do not. So, you know, it's how you are able to evolve from whatever is going on inside. It's just don't get stuck there for long. You know, we are not concrete blocks. We can move at any moment if we just choose to take a different step. So maybe your next step when you're feeling crappy is to skip and just go skip. You know, whatever that next step is, just change it, because as soon as you change it, now your path is shifted. And it doesn't have to be huge. We all think we need to make these giant leaps to actually evolve, but we don't. The little steps are actually more important because you remember them, because you're present when you take them.
Yeah. I love that you just said that for me, like it is the daily, consistent self-care actions that change everything. Because, you know, if you're not putting that oxygen mask on first and you're not prioritizing that, nothing else is really going to evolve well. So thank you.
Yeah.
So, Jasia, I don't know how early you were before your interview today, but we were pulling gratitude cards. And the specific ones were reflection, so that we can ask questions of each other. And this one card that we pulled, it was talking about people who have hurt us before. And I'm glad that that came up. Now, you don't have to tell us who you're thinking of or what happened. And it doesn't even have to be the story that you said earlier, but here's the comment. It says, send compassionate energy towards a person who has hurt you in the past. Your wounds are greater than your points of your wounds are your greatest points of growth. So Leanne and I were talking about what are some of the lessons that we learned, or what are some of our pieces of gratitude where we can come from that place of love with this person. So if there was something that you learned from somebody in the past, can you just share something with us?
Absolutely. I think, you know, I mean, bless my mom's heart. I'm going to speak, you know, bless my mom's heart. She's someone who, out of her life story, had a lot of intense control and perfectionism and intensity. And that was, you know, I had to be the way she wanted me to be she believed I would keep her safe. That's what kept her safe. Like, you got to follow a certain way, you got to be perfect, you got to be look a certain way, act a certain way, speak a certain way, manners a certain way, the whole thing. And that piece was very, very difficult. I had to really fight to be me and to break out and figure out who I was. But the compassion piece is that, now I just see that that's what kept her safe. And that under that, she always just wanted me to be safe and I love her so much. But, those early templates that our parents put on us can feel horrific until we realize that that was their way of keeping us safe. It might not be maybe the most evolved way they would have wanted, but I have infinite compassion for it. Yeah.
So then how does that lesson of compassion help you in sharing the message of your business?
Oh gosh, 100%. Well, because I think, I was born, so I don't know if you guys can see, I was born blind in my left eye. So I kind of already was set up to be imperfect. So I was panicked because I was born into a family where I had to be perfect and I was set up to fail, right? Which was, of course, perfectly guided. And, as expected when you look at it from the long game, but beginning game sucked, I was doomed to fail. And that was just a little mini beginning. I'm sorry, I lost your question. Go back.
How does the lesson of compassion help you share your message?
Right. So because I know nobody's perfect, because I know no one can be perfect, my whole work is about embracing our so-called imperfections and realizing that that's the secret sauce of our gifts and our story. And so I feel like in my work, I really attract and bring people who, both I bring people who are like kind of perfectionists and like entrepreneurs, super high successful, because they're always putting on the image and the perfection. And they are like, what in the world is this lady talking about? And I'm a little curious. She looks like she's having a lot more fun than I am, But then I also bring the people who are like deeply, deeply injured by standards. And so I feel like that message of you are perfect as you are is, the golden key.
I love that. And no, I didn't notice your eye at all. I figured you were like me and they just close when you smile.
Yeah. At first, all it's early morning, so my eyes haven't quite woken up yet. My left one's even smaller. So right one's fine.
Oh, I had no idea.
It's beautiful that you've taken that and allowed it to just be there and allowed it to be a part of you rather than, reject that part of you. And I think that's what I was meaning earlier too. We don't get to choose what parts we like. And really, the more we can love every part of us, no matter what it is, even the parts we want to change that we've worked on and we know are difficult to do that, love them anyway, because they're with you. And the more you can embrace and love that part of you, the more that you can actually move forward.
That's right.
I want to touch that other side of you, that depth side of you. We talked about the dancing, and I love how the message of compassion and the message of loving yourself and all of that can be easily wrapped up in a medium like dancing. But if we go to that other side, that deeper version of you, what ways do you share that message?
That really comes in my soul coaching, in my book, The Love Ball Game.
Do you have the book with you?
I can show you. It's on my windowsill.
Those aren't pajama pants.
Those are like rider shorts, It's called The Love Ball Game, Embracing Yourself, Embodying Your Soul. And but so there's a lot of message in there with tools and stories and all that. But thank you for letting me share it. But you can get it on Amazon or on my website. But the embodied soul coaching, I feel like I have a real gift with taking people very deep, deeper than they expected. And I have a way of creating a lot of safety for them to go in and really help them dig out and release stories so they're no longer in their heads. And that depth comes from, a life of tremendous trauma, but also tremendous success. And I think when someone can experience someone who both has had the amount of trauma that normally people would be out of here, they would have probably chosen to end their life, right? But then you see them and they're leaders and they're joyous and they're also authentic. That's what I want them to feel. I want my people who are here to feel like they can take anything, any block that's stopping them. That I've got tools, I've got access, and I can sit with them through it. And I create a very safe space. And I think that, and I can tell you guys do too, that creating a safe space for people means not only being able to listen to them, but actually having a vibration. I'm going to call it having had such a depth of experience cellularly through me that they feel held and they know that they can say anything without being judged, anything. And they know that I can get them to speak to anything and touch anything that they've never faced. And I've done that repeatedly with my clients. And so, that depth is there. I have a hard time, getting out here in this kind of world has been really interesting because I used to be frightened in some ways of getting my face out there into this kind of stuff. Are you kidding me? Like podcasts and stages. This was not me. I was terrified of that stuff. But when I hit a certain point in my evolution and I know many people hit this, where they're like, it's no longer okay for me to play small. I have to let anyone on the planet know that I'm here because I might have that one energy that they need to receive. And as you said, if we can help one person, I'm sure when in my childhood, there was a book or two that if I hadn't read those two books, I don't know if I'd be alive today. I would have thought I was insane. So
How'd you do that?
I'm not sure. I have this feeling my brother Robbie, who's no longer here, was helping send those balloons out when I said that, because
That's so funny.
Those stories. I have a second story, a book that needs to be written that will probably make everyone think I'm nuts. But the reality is, again, if we don't share the depths of our experiences, you might hit and make a difference for a whole lineage of people, starting with that one person who receives it to every person in their lineage because you spoke up. And so,
that's how I published my first book, is because someone said to me to actually, because it was not supposed to see the light of day. It was a very personal piece that I had written after my divorce, and it took me an entire year to write it. And I wasn't sure I was going to publish it or not. And for some reason, someone actually said to me, you could help my brother by publishing it.
Aww.
And because she said that, I was like, well, then I felt compelled. I'm like, well, I got to write it. I got to publish it now. And I was still shy. I only made it a paperback when I first posted it, because that's all I felt comfortable with at that time. Now fast forward now, I am going to have one coming out in a couple of months, a new one. But it's understanding your growth. You can't force your growth, and you can't force where you are in it. You got to just take it gradually and learn as you go and just slowly evolve with it. There's no perfection. You don't have to do it this way or this way. I think on our social networks, we're always taught that we have to do it a certain way. And there's only one way, and it's called your way.
There's only one way, and it's your way. I love that. Yeah.
One way or another.
And I had you can't rush your healing. Do you know that song by Trevor Hall? If you don't, you need to hear it. It's called You Can't Rush Your Healing. It's gorgeous.
You can't rush your
You can't rush your healing by Trevor Hall. Beautiful song.
I love that.
Yeah.
I need everybody's favorite songs. I need everybody's most expressive songs. Please flood the comments with them. I will listen to every single one.
Me too. With you.
I love the music. We have about 6 minutes left. I changed my screen size. Oh my God. So I just want to make sure that we have some space for where to find you and your favorite way to communicate.
Oh, before I would have definitely thrown you in my Facebook, which is now the best way is to go to my website, which is www.jacia, Cornwise.com. And jump on there. You could download a free stress buster morning routine. You could download a free copy of an ebook about self-love and trauma and courage. And but that's a great way to say hey. You could also follow me. Before it was on Facebook, but right now I would just put me on Instagram at Jossia Cornwise, or LinkedIn, Jill Jossia Cornwise. Instagram might be changing to Jill Cornwise / Jossia. We're working on the names again. This all just happened. Yeah, but I would love people to just go grab my free gift, go have fun with it. and
then
the www.Freedom Flourish Summit. If you are listening to this, I don't know when this gets published, but if it's before.
we're live.
Oh, we're live, right? Okay. So whoever's hearing it, check out www.freedomflourish.com. You can join a summit for free, virtual, online, amazing experiences, lots of interesting people if you like stuff like this, which I know you do because you're here.
And then usually, not apparently yesterday, but usually I like to hold space at the end of an interview just to kind of let you have some time to share whatever it is that's on your heart that you feel like you need to share.
Well, first of all, what's on my heart is really appreciating you two beautiful women that I'm speaking with.
Thank you.
And Laura, you guys are just, I didn't know who I was talking to, and it was such a great way. I almost was like, oh, it's my birthday morning. Why am I doing this? Is this what I want to do? And you two were just the perfect women to say good morning to. So thank you for that. And then I think the second piece is that anyone who's listening, this is ironically, I'm speaking on the morning of my 56th birthday, and it's this tender time because everything I've been working for, just got hacked into, and I'm in that moment of like, okay, it's working for me, not against me. So what is the message? What is the shift? What is the movement? And I really feel like, I've been guided to let folks know about, a lot of times people will see me out there. I look, joyous, right? That part. But that, I also, and some people see me as like way out there, right? I look like this freak dancing around. And, I came from a daughter of a Midwestern family, doctor's family. I grew up in like very conservative, or I wouldn't say conservative, but yeah, conservative world, traditional kind of values. And I had to break free fully and create a whole new world. And I absorbed so much, and I led so much, I learned so much. And this is a time now where I'm bringing two worlds together. And I feel like I have this incredible gift to help people from any kind of background because of it. I've stepped into this world, and I feel like, and now life just shut down a certain way of moving. And I thought it may be because there's another story to tell about the depth. There's another story. I thought everyone knew. My friend last day, my friend Dana Grant, we were driving home yesterday from Mendocino with a wonderful women's trip that we took for both of our birthdays. And I said, well, I already told a lot of things in my book. And I said, oh, for all the however many people who've read it, which is this small. And so I think what I'm going to say is that you're going to be hearing a lot more about some of my depth and some of my stories, not just the one I shared about the assault. That's just sort of what got popularized because of the TEDx, but there's so much more to share. And I want to reach people. If you like that combination, please reach out to me.
Totally me. Like, we need to be best friends.
Okay, Laura, I feel it. Yes.
Awesome and beautiful.
Well, thank you so much. I want to say that the way that you broached new subjects with us today was exactly where we wanted to go, and exactly how we wanted to talk about it. And I love that it wasn't just focused on the top three, speaking, writing, podcasting, that we finally get to have those conversations with people who fully embrace the other ways of sharing their message. So thank you.
I'm so glad, because I didn't really know what to expect. So I just said, I'm going to go in and be me. And I love that I was so embraced and that it was on target for what you two are calling in. And let's collaborate some more. I would love to, let's connect with me on Instagram, I guess, or now follow me on.
Definitely. Absolutely.
I'm going to snap a photo right now. Make sure I have your names. How do I follow you? My phone's off.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, if I just follow you on Instagram.
Send me an email so I have your info, okay?
So
will do.
Sorry,
Thank you so much, Jossia. Just lovely. Thank you.
It's so great to meet you.
We have a moment. What was your name on Instagram again? Is it just
at Jossia Cornwise? JACIAKORN. You'll see a woman in this red suit. It's like,
Papa?
yeah, that's me.
Okay. I followed you. It's all good. Thank you so much, Jessia. This was lovely.
It
Sending
was
love.
absolutely lovely.
Yes, thank you so much. It was beautiful meeting you. Oh my gosh, and learning about a little bit of your story. I'd love to hear more.
Oh, likewise to both of you. Yeah, the divorce thing, been through that. Yeah, the whole gamut.
Yes.
And here we are. Go life.
Yes. Yes.
Bye.
Bye.
How do I leave? Are you
Oh,
gonna exit?
that's okay. I'll remove you and
Well,
then you can
exit
just
me.
close the
I'll
window.
just go, woof.
Got the power.
I'm gonna vanish. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
There we go. See, now you can just close the window whenever you're ready, or you can hang out backstage. It's all good. We can't hear you anyway. I have control of that.
So I don't know if it's your sound or my sound that's causing some of the stuff because I'm hearing it when you speak as well.
Yeah, I tried muting myself just
I
to
know
see.
I did that too,
I
and it still didn't fix it.
No, but it was better. So maybe, I don't know. Maybe it's like your light where it just decides to be like,
I just gave up on it. I said, "You're off. You've lost your position."
I am going to double check with our next guest because sometimes I get messages and what they forget is I'm live. I can't always check the messages. Oh, okay. Different email. Dear person.
Do you use like a snowball mic at all?
Mike? No. Most of the time I just use my laptop.
Oh, okay. Because you know what it is sometimes like using like a condenser mic probably be. I'm just thinking, which is a snowball mic basically. It's the same thing.
I got charcoal all over my felt on my desk.
Oh no!
I have car felt that I use on my desk for sound, right? But I got stuff on it.
Oh, that's all right. That's
so I
character.
sent a message. I'm just going to grab our link. Oops. Let's not change the page because, oh my God, that would suck. No, we'll just do that. Please come back. Thank you. Copy, not paste. That would make this stay.
I've been meaning to try out this mic I have, and I haven't tried it yet. See this? I found this. Look at this. This
Hold
is
on.
a
I'm
XLR
in a different window.
to UBC. See that? XLR.
Okay, now I see. What is it?
So this
Oh,
is an
the
XLR.
fancy.
This way your mic comes in
Yes.
to UBC, like your cell phone, and it plugs in. I haven't done it yet, but basically you would plug in a microphone with it.
So I have clip-on lapel mics, but it doesn't really work well with a sweater like this. Let's just randomly shove it on my shirt. No. and then this hooks in.
I have
Computer.
something. Oh my gosh, where is that? I have something.
But on my phone, I don't have a place to put microphone or headphones. So I use this. And then I can just put that in.
Yes. It's so funny you say that because look. Look.
Oh, you have that one. I gotta take this off. This is driving me nuts.
And wait. That goes to your phone.
Yeah, exactly.
And I actually have a 2-part one. So
Yeah.
so if you were to interview someone, they could wear one and you'd wear one. Isn't that
That's
cool?
what I
Oh, I
want.
love it.
Let's just talk tech for a little bit because we get a lot of these questions. Yeah. Where do we want to? Let's start with microphones for tech. Because when you're a speaker or you do interviews and stuff like this, generally it is good practice to have a microphone. But sometimes I do things like this, and sometimes I do things like, come on. I also have a standing desk, like a sit-stand desk. So sometimes I'll stand up. This sweater likes to come, so I just put a belt on today. Sometimes I'll stand up. But if I stand up and I'm back here, you can't hear me as well. Especially since I'm the type of person that talks with my hands. How well can you hear me from there?
I can still hear you. That's me.
And then, oh yeah, because I'm loud and I know how to project. Yay, acting experience.
Yeah, I'm
But
just trying to
then,
see if I can plug that in. I'm just curious. I'm going to grab my microphone. Just give me a sec. I want to
yeah,
see.
plug it in. Can you hear me now? I don't know how loud my microphone is. So, because you can see, yes, there's this little lapel mic, and some of them are directional. I can't hear you. You're muted. You are muted. You know you're muted, Leanne. That's okay. I'm just going to shut this off. She'll recognize in a moment, but that's fine. We can't hear you. You're on mute. Yeah, this one. Can you hear me now? I can't hear you. I still can't hear you. Oh, nope. Still can't hear you. Now we just messed with tech. Oh.
Hear me at all?
No. I can't hear you. Mm-mm. Mm-hmm.
Hello, hello.
Now I can hear you.
You can hear me? Now I can't hear you.
You. Hold on. I'm going to go to YouTube just to make sure people can hear me.
You at all.
Hold on. I'm going to leave the room to see if I can hear me on my phone. Just one sec. Because that would suck if we mess with tech. Yeah, go ahead. Mess with tech. See what happens. To find it quickly, I go to Corey on YouTube. I go to the live. I click on today's. Yep, I can hear me. Perfect. I can hear me. I can hear me. Leanne can't hear me anymore. And it's so funny watching myself on the phone. You might need to turn up your sound again because mics mess with speaker settings. The joys of being live. Good. I'm going to shut this off. We don't need to hear me a bajillion times. There. Plug me in, plug me in. There. So this might be fun, Leanne, if I can't hear you. But this is my whole job. Just in case I can't hear you, I get to talk all by myself. I'm going to ask her to try restarting.
Now I can hear you.
You can hear me now? Good. I was just about to say, like, try closing the window and then coming back in.
Well, actually, you know what it is? It's the setting.
So it was the setting, yeah.
It was something with the audio, so it switched when I plugged in the microphone. That's why.
Always does, always does.
So can you hear me on the mic?
Yeah, I can hear you on the mic.
Isn't that funny? So I've never used this, by the way, everybody. So this is how you work on your audio problems.
I wish I had a mic like that.
Yeah, so this is my SM58. The other one, I know why it didn't work, because you need phantom power.
Phantom power?
When you use, for example, so this is what's called an SM86. So this is a condenser microphone. A condenser microphone is used in recording a lot of times, but it also can be used for podcasts and such, because there's a difference between unidirectional and omnidirectional. So this microphone, for example, exactly. So when you're using it, an SM86, or something like that. There's many condenser microphones. What it does is it blocks all this external noise and it's just focused on your voice. So instead of picking up all the sound around you.
Oh, yeah. And then I don't have any fancy mics because I talk with my hands. How am I supposed to do that with a microphone in my hand? So I got.
I talk with my hands too. Sometimes I wonder if I should put a belt around my arms. But put that around the arms.
Like that. No. Okay.
That is brilliant. we should start a business of how to protect your arms when you're speaking.
I think a big part of it is because we do have the acting, the musical theater, like the performance style background. When you're a dancer, what do they tell you? Elongate your arms, elongate your fingers, like reach straight lines.
Exactly.
Cool.
You move a lot when you're acting. So
Yeah.
it's something that, that you're in your body and that's what you're taught. Neutral is within your body and you're centered within. You can't be anything more or you're just not going to be able to do what you need to do for your job. So it's the same thing with talking and speaking. It's interesting because now I made the segue change from playing piano sitting to now I'm playing standing. So I have, with the band I played on Sunday, I have a 2-tier keyboard.
Yeah.
So a 2-tier keyboard is you're putting 2 keyboards on top of each other. So you have one hand on one and one hand on the other. Yes, exactly. And I don't have it set up, so I can't show you right now. But in the future, I could probably show you what that looks like. But to give you an idea, it's going to be hard to see, but I'm going to try my best. So that is a 2-tier keyboard system. Okay. So, and people will probably be like, how do you do that? Well, you just do it. It's the same thing with playing piano. You just have them separated now. But what's cool about using a synthesizer is you get to pick multiple sounds. Now mine is an MX49 and it's a Yamaha. So what's so cool is that you can split the sound. So half your keyboard will be one sound and half the keyboard will be another, which is super cool. And then I have a keyboard down below my main one, which is a Yamaha 515. And what's cool about that one is I can do a split sound so I can play 2 sounds simultaneously. So for example, piano and organ, you can play both of them at the same time. Isn't that cool?
That is cool. Let's bring it back to like helping the audience use this kind of tech for their messaging, for the types of events that they might be in.
It depends what your message of your talk is. So if you are doing a song in yours, for example, an original song, this is some stuff that you're going to look at when you're performing. What do you need? What logistics do you need to put that together? And setup is important. Whatever that instrument you play and your microphone and getting there early so you can test out your audio. Everything like that is so important when you're doing these systems. So that's why this is all relevant because this is part of performance.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I'm thinking like more microphone versus there could be so many things that we talk about, but I'm like, the main ones would be microphones because many people don't even use a microphone. So then if their intro to all of this, what are maybe 3 things that they would need to start being a speaker? We'll just start with speaking and then we'll go into like writing or something or podcasting.
I would say microphone is important.
Mm-hmm.
How you sound.
Yep.
Your cable. So now when you're going to these events, they probably already have cables, but it's better to bring your own microphone because as we've learned through COVID, you can pass germs from microphone to microphone. So now you might be at an event where they want you to use their wireless mics. So what you can do is buy mic caps. okay, to put over the mic. So that way you're not sharing your stuff with somebody else.
Like you can buy these little things.
That is a small one. For something
I
like
know.
this, you're going to need
Yeah.
something like this. But it helps, right? Having something like that. Another piece would be, let's say you are showing images on the screen.
Ooh,
You
go.
may want to have a laser pointer, right? So you're able to point to the screen when you're doing your presentation.
I do not have one.
It's not necessary because you can use your arms. But if you have something specific you want them to see, yeah, exactly. Reminds me of like Price is Right. Look at this. We are selling this object, right? Yes.
No, I'm
But
thinking
anyways,
like
those are
Vanna
just
White.
three ideas. I'm saying three things that might
Yeah.
be important to check. I mean, I think it's always good to ask the place, what audio do you have? What am I responsible to bring?
Mm.
Because if you want to hear, and that's why I mentioned my setup, because when I do a TED Talk, I will do one of my original songs as part of my TED Talk. That
Do
will be part of my
you?
stuff. Yeah. That's my plan when I actually do a TED Talk, is to do one of my original songs, because that's part of me. That's part of my life. Right.
Nice.
So I'm speaking to musicians in the crowd here, because there's so many different types of TED Talks that are out there. There's tons. But even then, you might have a piece of music that you have permission to use. Remember, permission.
Mm.
Want to ask before you use that song, but you might have permission to use a specific piece as part of your presentation to get your message across. Now, some of the older ones like Beethoven, I don't know if there's rights for that stuff. I don't
No.
know, because we didn't have like copyright laws back then, I don't think. So
Yes.
you might be able to get away a little bit with using a little bit, but I would always ask. Always ask. And if they're SOCAN or whatever music agency that's protecting them, you can actually use that piece of music, for example.
Mm.
That's why you'll hear, like with the elections in the US, for some of the, for the candidates, people will say, no, you can't use my music at your event.
Yes.
And a lot of times they say that because they don't support that specific candidate.
Exactly.
Right.
Oh, that would
So
be me.
yeah,
I'd be
so
like,
it's always important.
no.
I think it's always a great thing to ask before, when you get asked to perform, unless they give you, I'm assuming they give you some documentation, but once they give you that documentation and your answer is not in it, that would be when you want to ask, because the more prepared you are, the more comfortable you will be when you actually make that speech.
Mm-hmm. So we talked about microphones a little bit. Let's talk about lighting a little bit. I know we were laughing about that just a little behind the scenes yesterday.
My light just said, "See you later." I realized the bulb just said no. It stayed for the longest time, and then it said, "I'm done with you." I think it's a dead bulb. So you might want to check your lab before you start. But I didn't know that was going to happen. But that's okay. This is part of, what is it? The saying, "The show must go on."
Oh, the show must go on. Thankfully, I haven't had to talk to myself very much during hosting these shows. It has happened. So then I'm just staring at the camera for 45 minutes having a conversation with myself.
Yes, exactly.
But we joke. I was like, I'm pretty sure Corey chose me because if I had to, I could talk for 4.5 hours straight. I'll just have a conversation with Google. I'll be like, okay, what are some common questions as I'm typing it out the
Yes.
speakers have for their very first speaking gig? And then Google will tell me a bunch of stuff. And then
I know, it's too bad. I wanted to pull a card for
oh, yeah.
I thought about it afterwards for Jasia, because I had thought about, using my starseed deck.
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah, then it might just come up in conversation later and you'll be like, this is the moment.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, okay,
But,
your light went out, but we can still see you.
Well, because it's the way I have my Mobi light set up. So it's, it's got the nice view of the light. It's funny though. When you have the different colors though, This
Oh,
is
yeah.
so neat. So I have a remote. I was showing Laura. I have a remote for my Moby Light. So if you want to see what the Moby Light looks like, it's this thing. Woo! It's a big ring, and it's on a tripod. Okay.
Yep.
Yes. And I'm gonna. Oh, that's the way. Okay, this way. I want to move
This
it.
is the
Okay,
party
perfect.
one.
So, but this one, it's there's different colors too, which is super cool. And there's some like strobe stuff you can do too. But I think it's so cool. Look at that. That's the red,
Yeah.
right? And then you got your green, and
There
then
we
blue. Look at
I
that.
love the blue light.
Isn't that
Like
cool?
the blue light is fun.
I also have purple. Look at that. I think the purple's kind of cool.
The purple's fun too. I did
Yeah.
some modeling with the blue light. So I took the blue light over to that friend's house where we were playfully loving on / making fun of Celine Dion because we love her so much. And
Yes.
we would play between the purple light and the blue light, and we would just take pictures of each other.
There we go.
Just like alone by ourselves. We're trying to look a certain way or feel a certain way, and both of us are super uncomfortable because we don't like taking our own photos. So it's like, what is it that you really like about the other person? What do you think is beautiful about the other person? And so we would kind of coach each other so that we could position ourselves in nice ways to kind of get used to seeing photos of ourselves.
I love that. That is lovely.
Yeah. So then when you go and do a selfie or a headshot or anything else for your business, your life, whatever, you don't have to be like with your besties like we used to. Everybody stays in, and yet it's a phone that can zoom out, and you're just like,
I know.
why are you all squishing like you used to?
It's funny
Love it.
too. Like my chair, I don't know what it is. It must be. It's. I think it's tilted in some way because when I try, I have to lean over for my shoulders to be straight. Like, but this is my chair. I don't know why
Oh.
it's doing that, but it's the way my chair is positioned. I think it's on the floor where I'm sitting. So,
that
it is what
and
it is. I can't really do a lot with that, but it's the way my chair, because to get straight, I actually have to tilt over my midsection. Very uncomfortable. It's not comfortable.
part of it might be posture. So let's kind of talk about posture too. After my accident and everything, I went to this one gentleman who finally gave me answers. He didn't even touch me or do any of his healing stuff yet. He was just like, he was a physiotherapist massage therapist that specialized in sports physio massage. So he just looked at me up and down. And he was like, so this shoulder is up and forward, and that my whole arm is kind of rotated, that this hip is up higher, that my knees are like this, and just like head to toe within 5 minutes gave me about 20 different things. And I went, what? So when you were saying that your shoulders are tilted, I wonder how much of it.
It's my floor. I think it's the floor where I'm sitting is causing that. So
Yeah.
I can't do a lot about it, unfortunately, because this staying like this, believe it or not, would be very uncomfortable.
I know. But then do we look right on camera, or do we have proper posture?
Yeah.
Proper posture.
You can adjust it. Mine is very difficult because of where I'm the position of where my chair is. It's really awkward. Oh well, it is what it is. Because my desk is in the corner. I cannot lift my desk. Trust me, there's too much stuff on it.
Okay, ready? No, I'll just do this. Oh, it is at the highest height. I will lower my desk.
Oh, you have a remote control desk.
Ooh.
Cool.
Yes. What is happening? Oh, okay. So the box, like the power box for my laptop cord,
Yeah.
it was vertical instead of being just laying on the floor. No,
my chair for some reason, like I think when I fixed it the last time, I think I accidentally lifted it or something on one side, because there's ways you can adjust these seats and stuff like that. So,
yeah.
But it's gonna be too much of a pain in the buttocks to do it while I'm on camera.
I know. So we talked a little bit about microphones. We talked a little bit about lighting. We just touched on the idea of posture, but let's kind of talk about that more. How important is posture to being a speaker?
Well, the more aligned you are, the better for your breath support.
Mm.
So alignment matters, and where you're breathing when you're speaking, because pacing also matters, right? And pacing is going to be based on how many breaths you take per sentence you speak. Now, you may not notice that you're breathing, but a lot of us will hold our breath when we're nervous. So it's so important to, that's why you'll see sometimes people before they get on stage, they're going to shake their bodies out like a dancer would naturally know how to do that. But or an actor, musical theater person, they're going to know to do that before because they want to get into their whole body. They want their whole body to be alive when they're up there. But the same thing I think holds water when you're speaking, because the more fluid you are with your body, the more supportive your sound, the more supportive the message. And the message is going to be heard more when you support that sound that you produce.
Let's try something. So this is going to be really hard. I'm going to take the pillow
Yeah,
off
I'm
my
going to
chair.
bring my feet down just a hair because I can't be flat on the floor.
I'm going to try to curl up. Try. This is a small chair.
Yeah.
We're just going to balance on this tiny chair that spins. And then ask me to say something in this very uncomfortable position. Give me a line.
Give you a line?
Yeah, give me. I got to turn back this way.
How about we'll keep it simple? To be or not to be? That is the question.
To be or not to be? That is the question. Or is it to be or not to be? That is the question. I saw this reel where there was a whole bunch of celebrities saying that line and just emphasizing a different word in the line. And each one felt completely different. It's like, to be or not to be? That is the question. It's like, to be or not to be? That is the question. And it changes. So now we did this horrible little curled up thingy. And then if we sit and we stand, I can say it the same way. Where did I emphasize the first one? To be or not to be? That is the question. It sounds completely different. I'm going to say it the same way. To be or not to be? Breathy, breathy, breathy. That is the question. There's a complete difference. And then when you're standing and you were talking about the sexual energy before and how you can use that. If I think of that physiologically, I'm thinking of right from the bottom of my pelvis into my core, into my chest, into my throat, into my head, in all the different ranges of the voice. How can I pull that energy right from my pelvis? And how can I squeeze my butt a little bit and engage the diaphragm to speak from that low place so that it has power, so that you can project instead of having a very breathy voice?
And another thing is you want to bend your knees a little bit, because when you lock your knees, you can actually faint. So if you feel your breath is not reaching your feet, it's probably because you didn't bend your knees. So, you know what I mean? I think a good practice is if you get the opportunity to see the stage before the event actually starts and actually look at the space. And I did this as an exercise. We learned this in, again, my acting programs, is actually when you come into the space, if you're lucky in that moment. Now, again, this is more for auditions, but you can use this as well for public speaking, is look at the size of the room that you're speaking in and actually just gaze at it. Gaze at all the corners. Is it round? However that place is, where the audience is going to be, and look at the size of the stage and actually just look at all the parts of it. Because what you're doing is you're actually seeing the place where you're going to be standing. If you're lucky and you get to walk on that stage before the audience comes in, you get to walk around that space just for a moment, just to get to know it. Go look backwards, not just to the audience. Go in the back and see how far back that stage, and just walk that whole stage. The reason you do that is because that's going to be your zone when you're there. That's your space. And you get to stand on that space. So the more you can get invited into it and you feel that space and reclaim that space, as soon as you get out there to speak, you're going to be that much more comfortable because you already know the space that you're in now.
Hmm.
And it doesn't take a long time to do this. It's just a matter of seconds where you just get to know that space. And then you get to plant your feet and speak.
Okay, I'm going to get to know my space right now.
Perfection.
Yeah. No, I'm laughing a little.
Cool? Like it's
Wait,
kind of, but it gets you comfortable because you're not used to that space. You've never been in that space if you've never talked there before. So this is a way to make that space your own, because it is your own, because you're the only one on it at the time you speak. It's
I
your
like that you
space.
reference live stages. I was like, I haven't really been on a live stage consistently in years. Most of what I do speaking wise is the seldom out of my house live event stuff, but most of it is here in my office at my laptop, virtual speaking. So I don't get to always have the microphone. I don't get to always walk a stage. I don't get to engage with my audience the way that I love to. Virtual's fun, but there's nothing that beats the energy of a live room.
Oh no, if you can get a live space, I would go there. You know, because you get to see the audience you're speaking to all at once, right?
Ugh.
On top of that, when you're in your body, you know, it's also that there's a thing called diaphragmatic breathing, right?
Mhm.
Is when you inhale, right?
Right in
Your
here.
diaphragm position is moving. It's changing position, right? From the inhale to the exhale. And if you see people's shoulders rise, it's because they're breathing into their chest. If your shoulders are more relaxed and you're breathing into your lower body, which if you're into chakras, your root chakra, your sacral chakra, staying within that zone in your solar plexus, okay? Root chakra, for example, is kind of where your diarrhea is, and the bottom part of that. Your sacral chakra is your lumbar spine, which is your lower part of your back, and your solar plexus is your center below your
Mhm.
heart. Okay, because your heart chakra is its own chakra, right? And then you have your throat
Yeah.
chakra. Then you have your third eye. I always think of that. I don't know that. What is it? Emu shows with the third eye character or something. It's got the one eye, you know, like the Cyclops. That's what I think of when I think of the third eye. I always have that visual image of like the Cyclops, and then the
Emu
crown.
show?
I don't know. It was some show. It was some cartoon show that was like a Cyclops character. I don't know what it was,
I don't
but
know. There's lots of fantasy shows with Cyclops.
tons. But it is, you know, just feeling those parts of your body gets you more connected, and it gets you more connected to what you're speaking about,
Mm.
right? Because we all want to be that known message, right? Or we want to go what we call in social media viral. But when you're speaking, the more you're in your body, it doesn't matter because you're going to be inside you. And there's a thing in therapy that's called feeling safe, right? With inside. When you're struggling or having anxiety or depression or whatever's going on, you know, ruminating thoughts that just won't go away. If you go inside your body and you actually take a moment, they call it like a body scan, and
Mhm.
scan your entire body, right? Whatever you have to do, even if you label it, I don't care what you got to do, but go through inside your body and go all the way through. You know, feet, knees, go back to that. What is it? Heads, shoulders, knees, and toes, right? You know what I mean? That old thing, like, yeah. So
What's
think
that?
about all those parts, but then go inside,
Yeah.
almost like you're like an explorer, right? And you're able to visually see all those parts. And the reason I say that is just because you get more inside your body when you connect to all those parts. We forget our feet sometimes. We forget that our feet matter. And you can feel safe actually within your feet. It's a focal point. It's like a image base, right? You get that focus and you put your intention all the way down to your feet. That's going to help you also produce your sound even more fuller, and your message is going to be heard better because of it.
I like to imagine when my feet are on the floor. Right now, my feet are on a foam roller because I know when I'm doing it. Okay, extra bonus tip. We have about 10 minutes left of this kind of segment. Extra bonus tip. When you are sitting in a chair all day long and you don't have one of those like fancy chairs, no, you can't really tell. I just have like a living room style chair because that's what I like visually. It doesn't
Right.
always have wonderful support. And I find that I like my desk to be high so that my video is high.
Right.
And if I sit in my chair, then the pressure on the back of my legs, especially when you have chronic pain and blood flow issues and lots of other things going on, I make sure that I don't have that pressure on the back part of my leg. So I put my feet on a foam roller, and it elevates them just enough to prevent that pressure point. And then it keeps me moving. It keeps my legs moving, keeps my blood flowing, keeps me energetic.
That's cool.
And then I don't kick the wall either and make sounds.
I roll on my cylinder. I roll my body on my cylinder. Yes, that I roll my body. It's my own personal chiropractor is what that is, because it releases my spine. I remember my jazz teacher would say it's releasing the gases, yes, it's releasing the gases in your body, right? Because it can get locked, right? You get those tension and it just is like energy stuck. So I find rolling on that helps release that.
Yeah.
It's cool.
But then I can consciously think about my feet more because the pressure is wherever I put the pressure with the foam roller.
Right.
So if I tend to roll onto the tips of my toes, like right underneath the toes, if I want something higher or if I want something more energetic because it feels like I'm doing this. And if I want something lower or more grounded, I tend to have it back right in front of my heel. So I'm kind of leaning back a little bit more. Like just all these different ways to play physically with your body before you ever speak a word.
Yes. It's so true. Another tip that's kind of cool as well is when you write your speech, I like to look at it like a monologue. Okay.
You write it? I'm just everybody does their process differently. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I am a writer, so why wouldn't I write my speech?
I never write them.
I'm a writer. So I would write it down, or I would have the points, right? The points that I'm going to focus upon, right? I would do like a framework, kind of like a table of contents. I would put which sections are where. But when you do that, you can also work on key phrases, right? So you can say just the consonants. Say there's a key phrase that you make sure you want a message that you want to get through your piece multiple times. Practice just saying the consonants of that phrase without the vowels. So for example, if it's to be or not to be, you'd be t, b, right? N, t, right? Right? And then b, that's it. I know it's a lame example because there's not many consonants in it. But by doing that, you're moving your focus to the front of your face. Then do that same thing with your vowels. So again, oo, e, o, right? Ah, e. All right. And then you're moving it again. You're shifting it. Now you come back and you go to be or not to be. That is the question, right? I didn't do that part, but I just was doing the beginning part. To be or not to be. Do you see how it's the consonants are more clear, the vowels are more simple, and they're more connected. It's just simple exercises you can do with your text when you're writing it, and doing that little bit can actually open your sound to a newer way to speaking.
No, I laugh a little bit at the writing out a talk only because I know my own habits, okay? When I write, I have this whole other process that happens in my brain to make sure that what I put on that paper is super articulate. and I will not write it until I have worked it all out in my brain enough that I feel as though it's very pleasing. And if I write it that way, I don't think that way naturally. And so then I have the panic of, oh my God, it's never going to come out the way that I wrote it. And then I try to memorize it, and my brain and PTSD and all of the anxiety does not really let me memorize things. So then it's just panic mode the whole time. So knowing myself, I know that I need to write down, just as you said, here's the title, here's the intention, which isn't spoken, but I need to keep that intention in my mind. Then whatever I'm going to open with, then the 3 key points, any stories that relate to those points, any takeaways that relate to those points, how I find the connections and patterns throughout them all, and then whatever my outro kind of takeaway is. The call
That's
to action.
awesome.
Maybe.
That's a beautiful process. But
And
you
then I
know
leave
that
it like
works for you.
that.
But you know that works for you, and that's the big thing. So for me, I actually, when I've done some talks, you know, something that actually helped me do my plays. Actually, I did it in pictures. So I created a PowerPoint presentation and used those pictures, so I never lost point because my slides were part of my talk.
Yeah.
And something I learned with Corey Poirier many years ago is pictures are like 1,000 words. You do not need to put all your key points. It's almost like being a professor in college, right? Or high school, it doesn't matter. Or, you know, at a business when they do, luncheons and things like that. It's the same type of thing. Because if you're reading exactly what you write all the time, it kind of gets boring.
Yes.
So writing the key points and then having those images to discuss, it gives a visual perspective. And as they say, less is more. So you can use certain points. If that's going to help you remember where to go with your talk, use those pictures if that's going to make it more comfortable, because it makes it intriguing. It's a visual presentation. It's not just because there are people out there in the crowd that are going to be more visually oriented. So you want that message to get to them too.
Yeah.
Right.
Just
so
to
those
hit
images can become important when you see them.
Just to hit your point home, I have this deck of cards and I love the illustrator specifically because she puts so much detail into her artwork that you don't have to go read the book to understand exactly what she's trying to say. But like looking at this image, it's super pretty. But when you really dive in, like you can see the details of her earrings, how there's this castle in the background, a bunch of people walking toward her. Like it's full of imagery and symbolism and all of that on purpose. Right?
And the lizard / gecko that's on top of her head.
Oh, yes, just
beautiful.
So then when you look at the image, you get the feeling that you want, you get the intention that you want, all without saying a word. Just as we keep saying, like most of communication is nonverbal. If you haven't gotten that yet, hopefully you have today.
Yes. And those images leave a lasting imprint in the people that have the pleasure and luck to actually see you do it.
Mm.
And again, remember, it's not about having to worry about everybody that's there. Just make sure you reach at least one. And when you're focused on that, what that does is it makes it more comfortable because you're not so overwhelmed by the quantity of people in there. You're actually focused on who can I reach today? Who can I reach in that crowd?
Hopefully we reach our, oh, there we go. I come back and you're right there in backstage. I was going to say, hopefully we reach our next guest. That's perfect timing. Irina, if you're ready to come up on stage, just give me a thumbs up. And then tell me how much I butchered your name or if I'm somewhere in the realm of okayness.
No, you're great.
Oh, awesome. So, Irina, we were just having a fun conversation about all the different ways that we can improve our speaking. So, like tech-wise, we were talking about microphones and lighting and posture and imagery and just all these kinds of things. But while I would love to continue that conversation, I'd like to start off each interview the same way with a research question.
Okay.
And I don't remember if I've asked you before. So here's my big question. If you could have other people describe you in 3 words, I know, only 3. We want so much more. But in 3 words, what would you love those 3 words to be?
Creative, positive, and uplifting.
You're too fast. Okay, creative, positive, and uplifting.
Yes.
Uplifting. I like all of those. So
Me
why
too.
those words? Why not the typical authentic, caring, and well, you did say creative, so yeah, that tends to be.
Because I believe we are all creators in our own right, and we are here to create. And I love being creative. I love exploring different passions in any medium, whether it's singing, baking, dancing, uh, creating masterpieces, writing. Uh, it just, I think we can explore a self-expression in those different passions and different avenues. And the second one, positive, no matter the situation, we can always find the silver lining. We can find something that we can learn from the experience. And yes, sometimes when we're in the middle of a dark cloud, all we can see is the darkness. But there is always something positive we can glean. And it takes a little bit to kind of slowing down and looking at things from a different perspective. And uplifting, I think, you know, recovering after my own breakup, recovering from darkness, and coming out and showing that it is possible, that life is not lost, that it can even be great, and inspiring others to do the same, to find their inner gift, inner resilience, fight their fear, and come out on the other side.
Oh, so there is a good side to the other side of trauma. I mean, I playfully joke, but I know that all of us have been through lots of trauma, lots of struggles. What can you tell us what your core message is, just so we kind of know what your intention is, where you're coming from?
My core message is for people to wake up and live their life, follow their dream, because life is too short to go on living unhappy. We didn't come here to suffer. We come here to learn. We come here to experience, and then come out on the other side, find what it is, what kind of gift we have. We all have gifts inside of us. And our journey is to discover what that gift is, and then sharing that with others, whether it is helping in any way, whether it is uplifting them, whether it is doing something that only we can, because sometimes we think we are very limited, we are not enough, we don't have all the tools, but meanwhile we do. We all bring our own ingredient to any kind of a situation that only we can help. And I'm not saying like one person is this great and the other is like down there. In the end of the day, we're all walking each other home. And if we are just a little, like a half a step above or from where that person was, and we can show them a way that there is something is possible in the end of the day, there is a little bit of an improvement, and share that little tool with them so that they can find that hope again to keep on going, so they don't give up, that they don't break down, they keep on persevering and going further.
While
So
you were
my
talking,
key message is believe in yourself.
I love that. While you were talking, I had this visual of a community, right? If you want to build something, not every single person in the community needs to own a hammer and a saw and all the nails. You can go and ask your neighbor to borrow their hammer or saw. So then this is one reason why community is so important, to help us believe those things.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Oh God. I love when my mind just starts playing those movies to connect all of those dots together. So, Irina, there's obviously a story behind all of this. Are you willing to share why you got into this work and why this message is so important to you?
Yes. I became a single parent out of the blue to two kids. One was 3 months old, another was a 5-year-old. And I was living in that miserable state of being, of waiting for somebody to come rescue me.
Yes.
I didn't know who I was. I kind of lost myself in a relationship. We were together for 9 years and knew each other for 15. And over time, you start kind of assimilating yourself with the other person, and you start letting go of sharing pieces of yourself. And then you look at yourself, you no longer know who you are. You kind of lose yourself in the process. I don't know if it's called midlife crisis or what, But I arrived at a point where I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I liked or disliked, what made me tick. Who am I without the labels of a mom or a wife or this person? We put a lot of labels on as we have a lot of roles that we assume throughout our life. But once we remove those masks, once we remove those roles, who we are on the inside, that's the person who I wanted to find, because I wanted to be happy again. I decided that one day, standing on the train tracks and missing my train by mere seconds, and being so tired of constant morning rush commute every single day, no matter rain or snow. And I started sobbing. Why did I? Because I missed my train. And I decided, like, why are we always rushing? I felt like I was always rushing while I didn't feel like I was living. I was getting closer to my death while not feeling alive. And in that moment, I decided that I didn't want to live like that. I wanted to find something better. There is more to life than this. It's not suffering. It's not just regurgitation of every single day, but finding what that better thing is. I didn't know how or what or when, but I made a decision that I wanted to change. I wanted to have energy. I wanted to wake up and feel alive, feel excited about my day. And so I embarked on a journey of personal development and growth, and little by little started learning pieces of myself. I joined Toastmasters. I got myself a voice coach. So I started singing. I was able to sing what I couldn't speak. All that emotion came out and was amazing. And I glad I stuck out with it. You know how we have imposter syndrome. Who am I at my age to start learning something? Meanwhile, we get to decide that we don't need to listen to anybody else. If this is what we're looking to create, go for it. And so I stuck it out with that. And then what culminated, I was in Phoenix, Arizona in September of 2019 when I got inspired by Evan Carmichael, who said there is not enough belief in this world today and you should help somebody who is a step behind you. And that's when I decided to help women like myself who felt lost after a long-term relationship, who felt like their life was over, the best part of their life, to find what is possible. And so in 2020, Happiness Academy was born. It's a 12-step program on how to become better, how to be happy again. And then podcast was born, Single Parent Success Stories. I got inspired by a fellow masterminder who was doing interviews with people and they were sharing their life journeys. And I said, what a great idea. I would like to speak to single parents who've been there, done that. And so I did. And then we are 4.5 years into it already. And it's been an incredible journey. And through podcast, I was able to become an author and had a publisher who joined me on a podcast. And then she invited me to be part of her book series. It's been an incredible adventure. And this podcast, I was able to speak to so many people all over the world whom I have not have spoken otherwise. I've also started learning deeply about ourselves, about our mind, because the main idea behind happiness, behind reclaiming life, is live, dream, and grow, the 3 words. And the live component is about physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual health, how we can create habits that sustain us as opposed to habits that break us apart. And to that end, I studied neuro-linguistic programming to work on the mindset, and then wellness and fitness coaching as well to get familiar with the body. What is body doing? And all those important components that we learn. And it's been an incredible journey. And I can keep going. Like, let me know when you want me to start.
No, this is great. Okay. You've already hit on so many different ways and different methods of sharing your message. You talked about singing, you talked about dancing, you talked about baking, which I want to know about. You talked about writing, you talked about speaking, you talked about podcasting. Wow, I'm loving all of this because today has just been a fun day of the different ways. Not like the typical speaking, writing, podcasting. While those are absolutely wonderful, I love hearing about the other ways. that we share your message. So can you tell me more about the baking and how you use the baking to share this message? I love it. I love it.
Well, I believe in passions. I believe no matter how old you are, it's never too late to have a hobby.
Yeah.
And no matter, what inspires you. So one of my other passions, I have many, one is baking. And baking, because I consider myself a creative person. Every opportunity is to create. It's like creating a masterpiece, like you painting a beautiful picture, or you're writing a book, or you're singing a song. Same with baking. You're creating a masterpiece with baking. You get to weave two different ingredients and create something beautiful. So it's not just to satisfy your stomach, but you also want to satisfy your eyes, all your senses, the aroma of the bake, and also how it looks.
Now that's the one I'm working on now, is the looks part. I can get it not burnt and actually tasting good now, which is much better than when I started. But the looking like aesthetically pleasing, that's a whole new level.
I love when you talked about the collaboration as well. You know what I mean? Like, because in a way, like baking is collaborating creativity and mindset, right? Because you're looking at what you want to put together. And interesting how you were talking about all the things that when you decided that one day that you chose joy over hardship, and you wanted to be more a part of that and create that into your life. And in a way, that became your passion to change your circumstance, because you knew you couldn't stay where you were at, because it was not going to bring you the joy that you needed for your life. And for you to pursue creative outlets like publishing a book, writing, putting a program together and giving back to others because you knew what you had to do to get out of it. And now you get to help other people see that process through your example, which is quite beautiful. And we've been talking about this today, is how creativity can actually create masterpieces, right? And when you're going through trauma and you're going through harm, creative outlets are a form of expression. We've mentioned that as well today. And being able to use those outlets are not only healing us, but helping heal others in the process. Like we're healing by example, which is quite beautiful.
Yeah. Creativity allows us to express emotions, especially emotions of pain. I believe all emotions, they want to be just felt and let go. And one of the outlets could be this creative expression, whether it is baking, singing, or maybe playing tennis and getting that anger out of your system.
There's a poem by Rumi called The Guest House, which talks about emotions being guests in the house that is you, and how you should welcome each and every one of them in. Now I'm picturing all of them as 6-year-old kids who are going, Mom, 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 Mom. Like, if you just take the moment to acknowledge them and listen to them, they will go away. But if you don't, oh man, how annoying do they get? We love them. They're very annoying.
True.
So how can people find you, Irina?
I'm available on different platforms. Instagram is red.claim your life. Facebook, Irina.Chehovtsov. I also have a YouTube channel, Happiness Academy _. Podcasts are available on all the podcasting platforms. I have two. Have Reclaim Your Life with Irina, which is fairly recent one, and the Single Parent Success Stories for single parents.
Wow.
And books are available on Amazon.
Oh.
There are 5, and I'm working on my final solo book that's going to come out by end of this year, which is called The Gift Inside.
Wow, that's beautiful.
I see
Lovely
all the books
title.
behind you. Is
Yes,
one of them yours or multiple of them yours?
5 of them are mine, yes.
Well, you need to show us. Like, we want to see the covers. When I look you up, I want to know that I have the right books.
Oh, and I have one more somewhere. Up here we go.
There you go.
So my first one was Sacred Surrender. It came out in April 2022. And I was contributed a chapter called Reclaim Your Life.
Yeah.
And the second one was Revolutionary Leaders. It's Leading Through Change. This was in July of 22. And then this was as a result of the podcast that I host, Single Parent Success Stories, Soul Parent Volume 1, Navigating Single Parenting Journey. And then we did another one this year in January, Soul Parent 2, Volume 2. And this one I did with Mind Valley coaches. This came out in January 23, I believe. Total Health for Extraordinary Living. And my chapter was on 10 minutes of joy, how we can all practice, how we like to flex we brush our teeth to create good oral hygiene. I believe we should flex our happiness muscle. So this is all about practicing 10 minutes every single day, something that sets your soul on fire.
You've been a busy writer.
Yes.
Amazing. Amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Have you always been a writer?
No, this was a dream of mine. So one of my recovery steps as I started, I was imagining how I would want my life to be.
Mm-hmm.
How Tanya Robbins says the power hour. So I would recite. And one of the dreams I had is how I would want to live my life. One of them was to be a writer, an author. And this was back, I think, in 2015. And this came to be in 22. So it took about, 8 years to realize, or 6 years.
Yeah.
And I have many other dreams that I'm also in pursuit of.
Well, tell us about those and maybe we can help you. We're the audience.
One of the other dreams is I want to sing in front of thousands of people on stage. And for that, I'm practicing singing every day for 10 minutes or more. So this is my 10 minutes of joy routine. Another one is I want to create a Reclaim Your Life center for people who lost hope in life, who can come and rejuvenate themselves. And by working on alternative medicine professionals, so whether it is restoring hope, coming out of depression or anxiety, or maybe fixing something that they think is broken, but also having on site different things for passion, to explore passions, like an art studio and a cooking area and a karaoke place and a workout area. So all kinds of things. And also for personal development, once they've healed whatever needs to be held and explore their passions, to go and learn more about themselves and others. This idea that after they finish their program at the center, they can go and pursue their dream. I believe no matter how old we are, we still have a 5-year-old inside of us with a dream that needs to be unleashed. We shouldn't be making the cemetery the greatest place on earth. We should be not afraid to follow our dreams and maybe creating something beautiful for ourselves and making the world a better place.
Oh, I've heard that quote from Les Brown so many times about the graveyard being one of the richest places in the world. It's like, oh, it gets me every time. So I'm loving this dream of you wanting to sing in front of thousands of people. Do you have a favorite genre or a favorite style of singing that you like?
Favorite, I don't know. I think different things. I think everything except heavy metal and rock and rap. And in different languages, English, Russian, French, Italian, Spanish.
Wow. Do you have a particular stage that you want to sing on?
No.
Oh, I do.
Like I want to sing on Broadway and I want to sing at the Lincoln Center, Carnegie Mellon. There's so many different places I want to perform at. But I've been singing for a long time, by the way. So I appreciate you doing that. It's awesome. And it's never too late to learn a gift, because I don't think we reveal our gifts at once. I think some of them come gradually. Some we're lucky and we've had them for a very long time. And sometimes they evolve. Like if you think of Julie Andrews, right? And I had the pleasure and luck to see her in Victor Victoria on Broadway, which was a dream of mine because I always watched Sound of Music for many years. And so for me, being able to see her was a gift. And the reason I bring her up is how precious our gifts are. when we do have them, because with her voice, unfortunately, because she had to have surgery, she can't sing past an octave now. That beautiful sound that you've heard for years. And so the reason I mention that is just because it's so important to just be gentle with those gifts, because you could have them today and tomorrow they may not be there, but a new one's going to present itself. And I think it's so lovely that you've taken everything you've been through and turned it into a product to help others. And I love that center. I would love to go there. That would be fantastic, because that sounds such, I hope you make that happen. I think you would help so many people in that way. I mean, my gosh, there could be so many names you could come with, like Lost Souls Anon, whatever, something, you know what I mean? Like wherever that group is, I think that's so amazing to do that, because people need to come back to their joys and their dreams like we were when we were a kid. If you had a chance to be taught that message, not all of us did. But once you have that message, don't give it up, because you never know when it's going to come true. You will never know. Yeah. And it's amazing. You set forward what you wanted and you've made those dreams start to happen. That's cool.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
The video that was playing through my head was, we're all like some sort of glass thing. And when we feel like we're broken and we break ourselves on the rocks and we're like, there's nothing left of me, I just want to go out to sea. And then all the little shards go out to sea. And then we think they're gone. And then eventually they show back up on the shore like they're little triggers and traumas that keep popping up. But guess what? Now you have the ocean glass, the nice frosted glass that people love to create with, that spend hours on the shore trying to find, to make beautiful things out of it. You are the broken glass, but now you're finally seeing the beauty in it.
Isn't it the book Tennessee Williams, The Glass Menagerie? I always love that because of, she had in her cabinet the glass horses, right? So, right, I think it was that. It was a horse, wasn't it? Was it a horse in the Glass Menagerie? I'm trying to think of. But I when you were saying that, Laura, I was picturing those little pieces and how intricate and beautiful and fragile they are. But that's the one thing. They also are strong because they're present, right? And when you go through trauma and you go through challenge and you go through these extreme points, like Laura was saying too, you don't know where to go. And like you were saying, Irina, and then you decided, like, I didn't want to stay here. And making that choice is one of the hardest decisions to make. I think a lot of times we let go of that decision, but making that choice to stay and, in a sense, fight for your life, fight for what you believe in, fight for your joy, your passions, your dreams. When you change and make that choice, it is a gift to this world, because now we're going to hear you.
Fight for
and
your
everybody's
right
got a message, and not everybody can deliver it. And we're lucky because we get a chance to deliver it in some way. We get to turn the heads of maybe a little tiny blimp of society, but that tiny it creates a domino effect. It's like a ripple, like in the water. It just spreads, and it's the most amazing thing. And if you can teach others to do the same, you're not just a light worker, you're a dream worker. It's amazing.
I said that. Yeah. Go ahead, Irina. Oh, I just wanted to add to everything that Leanne said, and, fight for a right to party. One, because it's a song lyric, but two, because you were talking about you want to live. And I'm writing a talk with that exact phrase in it, with that exact emphasis. But what does living, what does partying really look like and feel like to you? And you kind of covered a bit of it, but I just want you to kind of go a little more in depth with it. What does living feel like to you?
I believe life is an adventure that we get to explore, and not seeing it as a constant struggle, but seeing how we can find some kind of a piece that we can kind of learn from and live your life passionately. Don't just sit on the sidelines and just trying to fit in. Be weird, be different, share your unique spark, and truly feel alive with what you're doing. You know how sometimes we have our routines and it's kind of monotone, the things that we do day to day. We don't even feel passionate about them. We just do them because those things need to be done. But what if we kind of see it from a different angle? What if we feel excited in the morning when we get out of bed to do the things that inspire us, to do the things that set our soul on fire? And I'm not saying all the time having unicorns and rainbows, but having that kind of approach to life that you feel like you have lived. I know Brendan Bouchard says it a lot. His three words: did I live? Did I
Love.
forgot the other one. Did I matter?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So having that, living life without regrets, because I believe the greatest, what happens a lot of times is we think we have all this time in the world. Meanwhile, we have this blip, which is life. We have a tombstone with 2 dates and the dash is our life. And what do we want this dash to be? How do we want to experience it? Because when we are on the deathbed, it's better to have done something, let's say, and failed, as opposed to never trying something and having this kind of reserve in the back of my mind. Oh, I haven't done that. I haven't tried that. But now it is too late for you to do anything about it. So living life without regrets, pursuing the things that set your soul on fire, or if you want to discover what those things are. No matter how scary they feel, or no matter what anybody says, who you're supposed to be yourself, live your life. Don't live your life through your children. I know a lot of times we want to do that, but
no. Oh my God, no.
Wow, Irina, that dash between the dates image is, I've not heard that before ever. And it's so profound. It really is. It's like a profound message. It really is what are you going to do with that dash? You know, how are you going to live it? You know, what are you going to create from A to B? Like that space. Or in our life, it's probably A to Z, or in some countries, A to Z. Like I lived in Canada for a long time, so they always add the ED at the end for Z. Yes.
and also
No, we don't. But sure.
another thing I wanted to add is how you approach them to your situations, like on Graham's scheme of things. Is it something to worry about, or is it kind of if somebody cuts you off in traffic? I used to be like cursing and saying, but then I said, "Have a nice day. I don't know what's happening in your life.
Mm-hmm.
Have a nice day. God bless you."
Right.
I told that to my daughter's friend one day. She was having a hard time with bullies at school. And I sat her down and was like, look, you are not going to understand this right now. And you're probably going to think I'm crazy. But the best thing for you to do in those moments is to just send them love. And she did. She looked at me crazy. I was like, give me a moment. I was like, you never know what's happening at home. You never know what their life is like. You never know what they're going through. And usually what happens is people try to make other people feel the way that they feel. So if they're making you feel hurt and frustrated, that's probably how they feel. So then there's always a story on how that happened. Now we can get mad, and it's very easy to get mad. But what they really need is love. She's
If
like,
they're open
see
to
where
it.
you're going with it,
If
but
they're
I'm
open-
not ready for that. No. I was like,
Yeah,
that's
'cause
fine.
sometimes
But in
people aren't
20
ready.
years.
Yeah.
I was like,
They're
in
not
20
always
years,
ready.
you'll be like, this is great.
Yeah.
I mean, they're only like 14 right now. They do not care.
Yes.
But I'm just putting it out there.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I think
Okay.
sometimes when we have a message, we could have it or know it at one point, but it's hard to identify the other person on the other end if they're not as vocal or if they're not as transparent with their journey. It's very difficult to really support and help them if they're not ready to hear it. So you know what I believe in is planting a seed. And you can say something like, you may not be ready for this right now, but I hope one day you will be. And kind of adding just something simple so that way it just leaves a lasting impression, but you can still get your point across. I find the more simplistic we are with that message, the more that that seed has a chance to grow. Because, you know, when they talk about cells, our cells have memories. Our cells in the human body receive information even when we think we don't. And all parts of us hear that message differently. And we all learn at different points. So you're going to advance faster at one thing than me. I might advance faster than you, but at some point we're going to pick that up. And it's the most beautiful thing when that happens. You know, when that new change occurs.
I also believe in planting seeds, and sometimes it could be something so simple, doesn't have to be profound, but if we kind of open the door for a person then to come through that door instead of banging the head against the wall of a closed door, just keeping it a little bit open, and maybe kind of by placing little breadcrumbs to allow them to have a different experience or an explanation or a possibility to see something different other than what they see in front of them at a given moment.
Oh, that's pretty. That's beautiful. Again, I love that. The imagery. It's the imagery. You know, it reminds me almost like, what is that picture that they talk about, the path of Jesus, the footprints poem, when they talk about the footprints? That made me think of that. You know what I mean? Just, and you don't even have to believe in that if that's not your belief system, but what it is the imagery. It's that similar imagery of following those steps that people who have done it before you.
Yeah.
Right. And if we leave those little bit, then we leave room for people to follow us, you know, when they're still in darkness, and we might be that little light that just might make them stay a little longer.
And if we mix the breadcrumbs with little white pebbles, aka nuggets of insight, then we can feed them while we lead them. I have to quote myself on that. That was actually really fun. Because at first I was like, well, if you just leave breadcrumbs, then it'll be just like Hansel and Gretel, and they're not going to be able to find their way back, but their tummies will be full. So the white rocks would work, but then if they're hungry, then they're not being fed. So what if we just did like one and then the other, then one and then the other, and then one and then the other, so that we can have both?
Totally.
I want to know about your gifts, Irina. It's come up a few times. Do you think you have any gifts? And if so, what would you label them as? I know we talk about labels too, but we're still going to label it.
Gifts, I think I've been called a lot, or I consider myself a problem solver. So people come to me for help in different areas. I mean, when I was in the corporate setting, people love to come to me because I didn't give them the runaround. If I didn't know something, I say it straight. I don't know. And if I do know, I will give them the answer. As opposed to when they go to other places, they keep creating something without actually delivering on the nugget. And also, kind of when I'm searching for something, I wouldn't stop until I get my answer. So I have no problem speaking with different people from different walks of life and just finding a solution, looking for a solution. Another gift, I consider myself creative. I love spending hours on Canva, which I shouldn't be.
What do you get lost in?
I love also creating things from scratch, things that never existed before.
Oh, are you like a crafter with just random things you find around the house?
No, not like
Okay.
that.
You're like, I'm just going to take this toothpick, this old pen, and this set of headphones.
For something that was, let's say, new for me. Like I didn't know how to do a podcast. I just had an idea.
Oh.
And then when we had with it, I learned here and there and then gotten myself out and without having any other knowledge. I mean, technically wise or anything like that, and creating something from like that wasn't there before.
I want to just switch the direction just a little bit because I don't think we've covered this yet so far this week. I want to know why podcasting, we're just going to focus on that for a second, why podcasting has been so important for you. Because you just said, you learned it, you figured it out, you put in the effort, 10 minutes a day. Why was it so important that you put in that effort?
I don't know. I felt I just was excited, I guess, about the idea that this person did it. Maybe I can too.
I like when I get the I don't know answers.
Challenging myself. Like what else can I do? Yes, I didn't do it before, but we all didn't learn how to walk right away. We fell a lot of times. But when we were little kids, we still have the curiosity in us. So we don't stop when we fall down. We could fall down and tumble over gazillion of times, but we don't start. We don't stop trying. We still get up and try again until we are successful. And I think when we get older, when we're beaten down by life, we start listening to that voice that says, "Oh, who are you doing for what you're doing?" And we start giving into that. But when we are in the curiosity of things, I think it gives us another superpower to keep on going and discovering different ideas. So I think that's how podcasting was for me, and I'm still learning. I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm still improving little by little. But how they say, done is better than perfect, or what is that word?
That is the phrase.
Because
otherwise,
you will be stuck in analysis paralysis. And I was when I launched the podcast. I recorded everything. I didn't know how to do the video editing, so I was sitting on the content for about 2 months. I said, "What am I doing? Just release the audio," and I did. And then it went off.
Yeah. I think there's only been one podcast that I've been on where I wanted an edit. Only because I felt really bad. I was trying to find a line in one of the latest Blue Talks books, for those who don't know. Not this one, but number 11. And it was a perfect line for what our conversation was. And it took me longer than 30 seconds to find it. So I was like, "I'm so sorry. Just give me a minute." He's like, "No, we'll just cut this part out." And in my mind, I'm thinking, I don't even think about edits. I'm so used to being live. There are no edits. You just try your best in the moment and you just make it work. So during this, I was panicking because I'm like, "Oh my God, his live is going to be..." No, he's like, "I'm just going to edit it out." Like, okay. So then I casually read through it and I finally found it. Oh my God. Welcome back, Leanne.
Hello. Sorry about that. It was time. I needed to do something for myself for a moment. I'm back.
We have about 7 minutes left of your interview. I just want to, we already did. We touched base on where to find you. Can you just remind us what your website or your favorite social media is?
Sure. My website is irinashahovtsov.com, and favorite media is Instagram at red.claimyourlife, and YouTube channel is Happiness Academy _.
Oh, it ends with an underscore. I was like, what's next? You just
because the regular one was taken.
That's fun. Oh God, finding a name for all of these things. How did you ever? Okay, I want to know about that because that's where I'm stuck right now. How did you come up with the name for your podcast? Because I know I'm not the only one feeling stuck at the moment.
Well, they say, you got to decide. You have different avenues, whether you want to pick a niche or something about yourself.
Yeah.
But I've seen you should do one that is about you, I think.
Well, of course. Yeah.
How I came up with, because I call it, back when I became a single parenting was something that was frowned upon. And in my immediate circles, I didn't have any single parent. Everybody was happily married and together. And I didn't
married. That's just a facade.
On outside, that's what we see.
Yeah.
And I decided, I want to hear some success stories of single parents who have been there, done that. And that's how idea came. I wasn't searching for it a lot. It was kind of was just appeared like that.
Yeah.
Single parent success stories.
So you basically labeled it what you wanted to hear. I like that.
Yes, what I wanted to hear. Because for myself, I didn't consider myself an expert parent, and I wanted to learn from others who have already gone through the hurdles, gone through the challenges, came out on the other side, and they felt successful, not in terms of they had businesses and such, but successful emotionally, how the kids are turned out and how their life turned out, to learn from them those kind of golden nuggets. And I've learned so many different things from people all across the world and from all walks of life across this 4.5 years journey. It's been incredible.
A friend of mine, I'm actually expecting a message any day/minute that a friend of mine is having a baby.
Oh.
And during her baby shower, she handed out sheets of paper that basically asked questions on advice and parenting techniques and like all of this stuff. It was a wonderful questionnaire. So of
Wow.
course she gets the joking answers as well as the serious answers. But I think putting your podcast down as a resource for something like that would be wonderful. So for all those people with knowing people with babies coming.
Thank you.
I can't wait though. I'll be in the middle of the show and I'll get the message and I'll be like, baby! I can't wait. Do you feel better as a parent now after you've had all of these conversations?
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
better?
I believe we never stop learning. We are always on the journey. As we evolving, as we get different we are on this spiral, and the challenges we faced before, we probably laugh at them now, but 5 years from now, it could be different challenges.
Yes.
You know, the best time was when kids were still inside of me, when you didn't have to worry about them getting sick, getting cold, talking back to you, where they just, you were carrying them in your belly and everything was super.
No, it wasn't. I had 7 months of hell.
Oh, well, I didn't have any morning sickness, so for me, it was great.
While on
Awesome.
medication,
Look at you, lucked out there.
while on medication, I still threw up about 30 times a day.
Oh my God.
Yeah, for 7 months straight. And I was only pregnant for 8 months.
Oh.
So, like the whole time, which is why I told my husband, I'm never having a baby again. No. He's like, but not all pregnancies are. No.
Yeah, usually the second one's better, they say. So
am
especially when
not
you've had
even
morning sickness stuff. That's what I've heard.
Irina, do you mind me asking how old your kids are now, just so we kind of have that time frame reference?
Sure, 15 and 10.
Oh, so it's been 10 years.
Yes.
Wow.
Ah, your oldest is the same age as mine. That's an interesting age.
Yes.
They think they're adults, but they're not quite adults. Yeah.
Yeah, depending on the situation. There are kids in one setting, and in another one, they're already grown up.
But I feel like I'm the
you
same way too.
located? I was going to ask, where are you located?
I am in New York, suburbs of New York.
Oh, wow. So I'm not far from you. I'm in New Jersey.
Oh, okay.
Cool.
Cool.
I love that. How much time? We have about 2 minutes. Okay. I like to hold space at the end of an interview just to see if there's anything on your heart or on your mind that you needed to share. So is there anything that you would like to share with us?
Thank you so much for having me. I love this platform and for the opportunity to be here. My key message is for people to believe in themselves no matter what, no matter the dark situation you're in. There is always an answer. And the answers we seek are on the inside of us, but it takes patience and it takes quieting down the ego to hear that inner voice that is always in the background. And forgiveness is key to letting go of any kind of trauma, of any kind of trouble, and practicing that on a daily basis. Whether you had a bad conversation with somebody, you argued, don't bring that dirty laundry into the next morning, into the next day. Leave it all behind and start each day as new. Start each day fresh. Do some brainwashing with meditation in the morning. Don't just wash your body, but wash your mind. so that you have a good and better day up ahead for you.
I've never heard of meditation being described as brainwashing.
A good kind of brain.
I'm just going to quote Irina right now. Pull that little sound snippet out.
Your thought about meditation, you reminded me of there's a book that I'm listening to on Audible, and it's by Oprah, What I Know for Sure. And I just got to the part in like part 7, I guess they call it, clarity is the chapter in that section. And she actually says, take 20 minutes in the morning of silence and 20 minutes at night of silence. And she said, and you can do it more than that, obviously. There's no wrong number on that, but whatever that is, but at least do it once a day if you can. Because it just, I don't know, call it a technology break, whatever you want to call it, but it could fit right in with that meditation concept. She said it actually makes her more creative when she allows her brain to just calm down.
Yeah, because oftentimes we jump out of bed and we start doing, and we forget to just be, to just listen, to just kind of fill our own cup first, set an intention of what we want to create for that day before jumping and being somebody for other people.
Wow.
As my daughter yells from the hallway, Mom, I'm home. Where are you? No, I'm busy recording all week long. Nothing has changed. Also, I love you. Okay. I want to thank you so much, Irina, for playing with us, laughing with us. We didn't quite cry this time, but we went to some darker places. But I appreciate you being vulnerable and open and honest. So I love when people do that.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Irina. You were amazing. Just your message and everything. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye, Irina. Okay. And our next guest is not here yet. What a day. So what's going to happen, Leanne, because I'm making this call myself, is if this guest doesn't show up, then we will do a quick recap of the day. We'll close it out casually. But I'm going to wait about 15 minutes.
Okay, sounds good.
Just because, people are late. Things happen. Completely
so we
get it.
pausing in 15 minutes? I'm just kidding. Just being silly.
No. I mean, you can leave anytime you need to leave. You're like, this is not the Leanne show.
Exactly.
Oh, this is where my daughter would come in with her clarinet playing some Star Wars.
No. Again, because I just did that gig, I didn't set up my key stuff because I'm on vacation this week. So I gave myself permission to finally, this is my first week of having vacation. So I was like, I'm going to set up today though, because I definitely want to, I can't not play for too long. Like I get sick inside. It's like, I have to do some music. I have to, I just got to, it's like this, your system. You know what you need.
Yeah. When I start my day and I don't go for a walk or put on some music to belt out, I feel off all day long.
I know the routine is interesting. I mean, usually I start work at 9, but so for me this week, getting to choose how I spend my time is really nice feeling.
Aww.
Just being a part of the show today, seeing all these, wonderful people and yourself and just being a part of this messaging and, sharing the light, sharing hope and sharing possibility, I think is a beautiful thing. It's beautiful to be a part of it. And I thank you highly for allowing me to be here today and being, in this zone, because it is a cool place to be. You're in a sense around greatness, right? Because people have turned things evolved into something magical. And it's lovely to see it, just to hear these people's stories and how they've made who they are exist in this world that's complex, not always a piece of cake to figure out. And certainly ourselves, it's like looking at a box of Cracker Jacks and trying to find the prize, and you realize the prize isn't in there. And then, it's like, but you got to find the prize anyway. You got to find the prize within yourself and enjoy that gift and celebrate it and open it and unwrap it. Sometimes you have to polish it, sometimes it's rough. And sometimes you just got to nurture it and love it anyway, even if you can't see the beauty yet. It's like this concept of the manifestation of what you would love to see, right? What you would love to hear, what you would love to be if you had that choice. I love this in mental health. The miracle question. Have you ever heard that?
Maybe. Depends on what the question is.
Okay,
I've heard
so
a lot.
the miracle question can be used in anything, not just in therapy, but just in general. If you had a wand and you
Yes.
had your choice of anything in this moment, what would that look like? And in a way, that's kind of like manifestation. So, a lot of us, I think, as you get older, you realize you need less and less things to fill your cup. What you care about is quality time with yourself, quality time with others. And so when you get to, say that, but it's kind of cool when you are in that vision point. I like to look at where I want to perform. I think it's so cool. Like, I want to be on that stage. Like, I like to look at that. And what's cool? If you don't have a visual mind, go on anywhere, go on YouTube and look it up, or ask people that have been to places, look at their photos. Like, I love to watch when people come back from trips and they take these historical pictures.
Yes.
Like Scotland. I mean, there's so many places that you could go, like Paris and all these different places. And if that's what you need, it doesn't matter how you do it. But what's cool is that now you have a reason to stay in this world. You have a choice now. Now you have a chance to make that dream come true of traveling to that place. And so that's why I love that miracle question. And it's the same thing physically, right? I want to be as strong as the people that are on Ninja Warrior, right? Ninja Warrior is that show where everybody are on those intense, incredible obstacle courses. And it's phenomenal what people do with their bodies and how they're able to climb up a wall just by putting the pressure of their arms and legs on either side. And they climb up in the center. And then they press a thing at the end. How all of us, we want to just press that button. I want to make that achievement. But that's the same thing. And so I just love that because it gets you in the emotion too, the excitement. And when you can live in that state, they always say to be in that state. And it's so hard when you're not in the best state to get into that state. And it's a challenge because some days, but you know what? That's what I call days where you just take your own time. Those are days for you. If it's hard to manifest and get into those other zones, it's okay. It's okay. Awesome. Just go to bed, happier than you started, if you can.
So our next guest is behind us.
Here. Yay.
I told you, give him 15 minutes. If you're ready to come up on stage, Dr. Allen, just give me a thumbs up. Awesome. Nice green screen.
Yeah, thank you.
Wow.
How are you?
I am great. Thank you. How are you guys today?
We've been having a fun day. So many laughs. It's crazy.
Well, that's always fantastic. It's nice to see those things.
So, Dr. Allen, I'm going to start off our interview the way that I do most, not all. I got caught a couple times of my interviews with one of my favorite questions because it's a research question and we get to learn a lot about you before you ever tell us a whole lot about you. So, are you ready?
I am ready.
Oh, perfect. So if you could have other people describe you in 3 words, what would you love those 3 words to be?
Sorry about that.
Energetic, positive, and dynamic.
Positive, dynamic. There we go. So energetic, positive, and dynamic. Why those 3 words? Why not all the typical words of authentic, creative, caring?
I think the world is missing positivity right now.
Mm.
So I love to carry that with me wherever I go. And I also think the world needs a little bit of a push. I think they need to get someplace. So energy is something people have to bring to things. I find that many people are burnt out, that they live these lives of quiet desperation. They
Mm.
just go through the motions. And I think they're cheating themselves. I think they should have this every day should be wonderful and should be amazing.
So I did notice that you also called yourself Dr. Al. Would you prefer me to call you Al or Alan?
I think Dr. L, I think, that to me, I have a syndicated radio show that
Oh,
is now called Live with the Famous Dr. L that goes out to 7 million people a month. So Apple has blessed me. They said, Dr. Oz has one name, Oprah has one name. You should be known by one name, not by, and although my name is Dr. Alan Leica, and I don't mind being called anything but late for dinner, it's fine with me. But they said, you're the famous Dr. Al. And I said, you got to be kidding. Well, they said, you have 7 million listeners a month, so you are famous. So if the shoe fits, wear it.
so
What
do
are
you?
you a doctor of?
I am the doctor of positivity and happiness. I was a former world renowned dermatologist.
Oh,
I
wow.
retired in 2019 and I wrote international best-selling book, The Secrets to Living a Fantastic Life. I was going to go around the world speaking, but the world had a slightly different idea in 2020. It sort of shut down for 2 years.
We don't know about that at all.
You
Those are
know,
the
no,
years.
I don't think anybody knew about this little thing that went
No,
around.
I was asleep
No.
during that time.
I think we all wanted to be asleep at that.
Yeah, that's right. It was an interesting time. And, it's still, I think, reverberating through people's minds. I don't think people have totally recovered from that.
No.
When you go through massive trauma, you go through anger, denial, bargaining, and depression. And I see all phases of that around me as I talk to people every day. There is a huge amount of anger in the world. There's a lot of bargaining and denial in the world, and there's a lot of depression in the world. And I think it's our job to try and get people back from that abyss. I think it's our job to try and make people healthy and happy again.
Mm. So then the healthiness and the happiness, is that a part of your core message?
Oh, yeah. I try when I go around the world speaking, I talk about happiness and how to put it back into their business and lives. And I've been on a mission to do that. In fact, I'll be in New Orleans next week speaking on that. I'll be in Phoenix the month after that speaking. So I've been speaking to all over the United States on these core messages recently and trying to make businesses happier institutions and people's lives happier.
Yes, please. How do we do that?
It starts with baby steps. And I think people just don't understand that it's easier than you think. Start with 3 gratitudes every day. Start with 3 little gratitudes. So when I saw that I was going to be on the show today, I said, I'm really grateful because I get to spread my message to people. So every day, start with 3 gratitudes and end with 3 gratitudes, little things. And do something for your neighbors and people around you wouldn't necessarily do. So when I go through a drive-through at Tim Hortons, I frequently buy a coffee for somebody next in line for me. I buy their orders. So, can you picture what that does for a person when some anonymous stranger buys them something. I've had people break down in tears and say, "You don't know what you've done." I've had such bad times in my life, and this really makes me realize that people are good people, and they just don't know how to express it. Can you picture if you baked a dozen cookies and took them to your neighbor and said, "I was just thinking of you"? Or if somebody's cleaning up their yard from leaves right now, can you picture if you lent a hand and just helped them a little bit? How much difference that would make for them? How many times do you really know your neighbor and say hi to your neighbor? What about in the grocery line and you go and say hi to them? How you doing? How's your day going? Wouldn't that blow them away with some little things that you do that way? What an amazing world it is if you look at it as amazing. Every day we're blessed with the sun coming up, and we have a new day to live a new life. You have a new day to start over, no matter what happened yesterday. You have a new day to do it. And I know it more than anything else because in 2003, I was told, "Dr. Leica, get your affairs in order. You have 6 months to live. You have ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease." So when you're given that diagnosis and told you don't have much time to live, you look at the world differently. And thank goodness the doctors were wrong. Doctors are not always right. But
No.
I went with courage and determination and tenacity to find the right diagnosis. And it's because of that I'm here today. And when you go through something like that, you either look at the world meanly and with jaundice and everything else, or you change. And I changed for the better, and that's why I realize how amazing the world is. And as I go on my show and amazing people come on it with amazing things in their lives, it really blows me away with what they do and how they approach life and how they really have taken this life by storm, no matter what the challenges are that face them. Life is not something that's not without challenges. You will have challenges, but it's not what happens to you, it's what you do with what happens.
I add a little piece in the middle of that. It's not the thing that happens to you, it's our perspective of the thing. And then to move forward, it's exactly as you said, what do you do with that new perspective and that understanding?
Absolutely. And I challenge people to move forward with a positive perspective. It's all about the mindset you bring to things. It's all about the beauty you bring to things. And it's your choice. Happiness is a choice. Misery is a choice as well. So you have the choice to make the difference in your life.
In
What do you
those,
think is your greatest aha moment that you have learned from all your guests that you've interviewed?
I think it's that. It's not what happens to you, it's what you do with what happens. That is really an amazing thing. You will get knocked down in life. You will often get knocked down in life. Life is not going to give you everything as a bowl full of cherries. It's going to give you the opportunity to respond from that. It literally is going to allow you to come up from the abyss, and you get a choice to really decide.
I was watching a reel and it was talking from the place of religion. So I'm going to make it a little more secular. They were saying, you pray or you ask the universe or you ask God, I would like to be happy or financially secure, whatever it is that your dream is or your goal is. And then life or God or the universe goes, okay, we're going to send you things to help you learn that and not just give it to you. And I really liked it because it highlighted that there has to be growth in order to achieve that, in order to keep that, in order to feel that. And so I liked that little switch on. You can't just ask and get it like a gift or a light switch. You got to put in the work. You got to do the process.
And you do have to do the work. Life doesn't come without work. You need to do the work, and work is an amazing thing. I don't turn my back on work. I don't turn my back on challenges. I love work and challenges because it makes me a better person. When I look at how hard I had to work to get into dermatology school, it was really hard work I had to do. I wasn't the brightest student. I wasn't the best student. But what I did was I worked harder than anybody else. And so, when I first applied for dermatology, I was rejected by every school that I had applied to. It was interesting to see that I was rejected. And so I used that as a challenge. So I just applied again. And I remember my mother-in-law laughing at me and saying, "When are you going to give up this dream?" And I said, "Well, I'll see." And so I remember my wife and I having hundreds of piles of applications on the floor. I mean, it isn't like now that you do this all digitally. We had to do it manually. And then you had to take the envelopes, seal them, lick a stamp, as unsanitary as that seemed, and take it to the post office and send them all there. And I got maybe 24 places interested of me. And so from that, I got those applications. Then I had to go around the country and both Canada and the United States and literally go to all those places. And I was accepted by the University of Minnesota in Minneapolis. And that was amazing. My wife came down and we had 2 more children there. We were poor. I mean, we had a salary of $20,000, but health insurance is expensive in the United States. So a large part of that was taken up to cover the health insurance. But my wife was great at clipping coupons, so we did not have any problems. I love this time of year because if this was Minneapolis, we'd go to apple farms and taste the hundreds of varieties of apples that we wouldn't have tasted otherwise, because they have apples that you don't see anyplace else. And there was, at this time of year, it's the Pumpkin Festival, and it's also the Renaissance Festival. That's amazing because, Renaissance was a time for the Enlightenment. It was a time when the world looked at things in a different way. They were coming from the Dark Ages into this new era of enlightenment. And, this year and the years following could be the best years of our life, or they could be the worst years of our life based on what we know.
You made me think of something when you were talking, actually, of an image. You were mentioning when you were filling out all those applications and you were getting all those rejections. And there's an image of 2 guys burrowing into the ground. Okay. And one of them is further along than the other. One of them quits. And if they burrowed one little subsection more, they would have achieved their objective. The other one, slower, kept going, achieved the objective because they never quit. Yeah. And there's a message there, because you do not know what is going to happen on that other side. Or I always like to, something might be around the corner that you least expect. That's the dream that you never thought would actually come true is finally going to come true. But if you quit now, you're never going to see it. Well, you'll never be able to experience it. And you did that. You overcame that challenge and said, "You know what? No, I'm going to keep going until I get accepted."
Well, I've always been led by such great leaders like Thomas Alva Edison. did thousands of attempts to make a light bulb. And every time he failed, he didn't call it a failure. All he said, I found a different way that didn't work.
Amazing.
So, you know, I am so lucky because I get to step on the shoulders of giants. That to me has been the most beautiful thing I've had in my life. I have been led extremely well by people that came before me. You know, my grandparents on my mother's side emigrated from the Ukraine at the turn of the last century. And they came to northern Saskatchewan and they built a sod cabin and they had no machinery to clear the land. They did it all by hand, and it was back-breaking work. I mean, there were rocks and stones and trees they had to clear out of that farmland, but they made it into arable farmland. They had 13 brothers, 13 children. And, you know, my mother passed away during COVID, but, you know, she had a good life. She had a very good life. At the age of 16, she left the farm for Coleman, Alberta. She met my father, who then they moved to Calgary, Alberta, and they started a family. So I was lucky. We had my sister and I lived in a little house. We had everything we could want. And, you know, they told me, you're going to get an education. I don't care what you want to do, but no matter what, you're going to get an education. Now, all my uncles were in road construction and they made a lot of money with that. But they said, no, you're not going to work in road construction like we did. It's too hard work. So I didn't work in road construction. I made my own path, which is a better path.
Yeah, I can't even think of all the things my family has done. One of the things my dad told me was he never finished high school, but he finished grade 12 math in grade 8. So he's like, find the things that you actually like to do and keep doing them. He's like, you don't have to. He's like, please graduate high school. But you don't have to go and get the top tier education to do the things that you love. And then my mom barely graduated high school, but she didn't really feel connected to any of the subjects.
Right.
Well, you
And
know,
so,
there's a famous person by the
yeah.
name of Sarah Blakely.
Oh, that sounds familiar.
She invented Spanx, which
Yeah.
is every woman knows that apparatus. But, you know, Sarah's father used to make her bring 3 failures home every day.
Oh, wow.
And she said, you know, you're not going to be successful unless you fail. So bring them home and we'll work through them so they become positive. So that's how Sarah Blakely eventually invented Spanx. And now she's a multimillionaire because of that. When she went and invented Spanx, people laughed at her, saying, are you out of your mind? Who the hell would want Spanx?
Oh my God. It reminds me of Jamie Kern Lima. I'm reading her book called Worthy right now. And she talks about the same kind of thing. She had a lot of redness on her face, and I usually do too, but I've got some makeup on right now and better lighting. And she wanted models that look like her, that look like everyday people that had issues with their skin. Being a dermatologist, you get that some of them.
Oh yeah, you know, that is so
Yeah.
important. You know, people, when I was a dermatologist, wanted not to look plastic. They
Yeah.
just wanted to look better. And so
Yep.
when I was a dermatologist, my saying was natural good looks are my business. You know, I didn't want people to look plastic or phony. I made my life and reputation on making them natural. And that put me ahead of everybody else because everybody else wanted to make people look plastic.
Yeah, I hear you there. That
Yeah.
makes sense. You know, you were all talking about messages that you heard from your family, and a big one that I mention a lot in my just in general towards myself and towards others is keep going no matter what. No matter what happens, no matter what faces, that's not going to be your sustained reality. That reality can change if you keep going, because that solution that you've been trying to find out, like like Edison when he discovered that 10,000 time and then finally he made it happen. It's that same concept. It's like you never know when that change going to be your ticket to ride, so to speak. But it's always helped me like moving forward with life and anything I face. Doesn't matter what. I say that saying. And it works for me. And whatever we all have our little sayings that our parents have, if you were lucky to have parents that had instilled in us, and it just carries you forward. And you don't realize how much so. It's amazing.
Absolutely. So, I have a hard stop at 11:45 here, so I just
Okay.
want to make sure everybody realizes I'm both a person that motivates and a professional speaker. So if you want to know more about me, go to my website, Dr. Allen Leica. That's DRALLEN, Leica, LY as in yellow, CKA.com, and sign up for my golden pearls. I give people a golden pearl each and every week to their mailbox. Also, if you need a speaker, go to Dr. L Speaks. That's DRALSPEAKS. I have limited availability, but I would love to communicate with you as how I can make your business or life really that successful. It's something I love to do. I love to help people, and it makes the worlds of difference when I talk to people. I love to see the expression in people's eyes and have them light up. I just did a client appreciation event in Bowling Green, Kentucky, for Tony Walker. And I put some envelopes together of some special things, but in everybody's envelope was a red nose. And that red nose they all wore at the end of the event because I think people need to be some humor in their life. And that red nose just lit up the evening. And I encourage people to have a red nose day. When you're down and out, put a red nose on because you can't help but laugh at you and yourself when you have a red nose on.
I would grab something, but there's nothing close.
Yeah, I know. I actually have a clown nose. I do have a clown nose. And yes, I hear. Yes, I agree. 100%. Bring it.
Bring it on with the red noses, everybody. They're available on Amazon. Put one on because they are amazing things. You're having a bad day, put a red nose on and look at yourself in the mirror. If you can't laugh with that on, you've got something wrong.
So you were talking about the different ways that you like to share your message, and that's where I was going to guide the conversation anyway. So I love how you're already in sync. You did talk about speaking. You did talk about podcasting. Did you mention anything about books yet?
Oh, it's one of those things. I've written 3 international best-selling books. The one is called The Secrets to Living a Fantastic Life, which has stayed at the top of the charts for over 4 years now. It's been so popular, we've had to bring out a second edition. And that second edition is amazing because it also has a questionnaire in it that asks people how their everyday life is about. And in that edition, there is if you fill it out, there is a manual that teaches you how to have a special day each and every day. You see, let me suppose you wake up tomorrow and your day's not going that good. Well, Can you picture what life would be like if every day of your life was fantastic rather than ordinary? Well, I love to concentrate on that because if you don't concentrate on that, you are cheating yourself. You are cheating yourself badly if you don't see the positive side and live the positive side each and every day. Can you picture how amazing the world would be if every day you're going to wake up and it's going to be amazing? So I encourage you to get a copy of my book, The Secrets to Living a Fantastic Life, second edition. It's available on Amazon.com or through my website. I really encourage you to do it and go to my website, dralanleica.com. That's DRALLEN, Leica, LYCKA.com. And be sure to sign up for my Golden Pearls because everybody who does will be offered in for our monthly draw for a cruise for 4 nights and 5 days, or 3,000 spots around the world for 7 days to vacation in. Why? I want everybody to have the fantastic life that I have. It's amazing. In middle of November, I'm heading off to Disney World with one of my daughters and her family, and we're going to enjoy that. I love Disney World. I particularly love Epcot because it's the experimental prototype community of tomorrow, and that to me is a fantastic place. I love the world of communications because it really shows me what amazing this place is and how we communicate people and how we've evolved with communications around the world. Look how amazing we communicate now by Zoom. Look how amazing we communicate. So although COVID was hard, it gave us tools to break down the world even more and make the world a smaller place.
I had never even heard of Epcot until you just mentioned it.
Well,
So
Disney World has 5 lands. One is Epcot Center, and I really encourage people to go there. It really will reshape your mind. It will show you how many amazing things go on in this world.
I've actually performed in Epcot, actually in Disney World. But you know what's good about Epcot as well is the food. The food is delicious because you get to try all these different countries, and it's such an amazing thing. I'm so jealous you're going. I want to go again. It's so good
Well,
there.
make sure you put it on your schedule, and I always
Yes,
find
you are
that
right. You are right.
people
I will put it down.
never enjoy the things that are around them because what they are always doing is living for tomorrow. And, they need to have these little special things in their schedule all the time. I always plan times like this to make it that much special. I always plan times. So even when I'm speaking, like next week, I'm speaking in New Orleans, I'm going to take some time and see it. I'm going to go on one of their hovercraft tours of the bayou while I'm there because I haven't done that. And I would love to see the bayou as it's meant to be seen. I'm going to go to one of their fancy restaurants because New Orleans people, I think, die at the age of 30 with a smile on their face with the food that they eat. I tell you, they know how to celebrate and live life every day.
Wow. Oh my God, that's so funny. So, Dr. Allen, I know you have a hard stop in about 7 minutes. So, I just want to leave this space at the end of the interview for anything that is on your heart or in your head that you feel like you just need to get out.
I think I'm going to challenge your audience. I'm going to challenge your audience to do something for somebody else today they wouldn't regularly do. I'm going to ask them to pay it forward. I'm going to ask them to go out there and make the difference in the life of somebody they wouldn't regularly do. It doesn't have to be big. It can be very small. It doesn't have to be cost anything. It can be as little as giving somebody a smile. It can be as little as saying hi to somebody. It can be as little as doing something that's really unique. I'm a Rotarian, and one of the things Rotary does is work at the food bank regularly so that people who don't have things get some food in their belly that they wouldn't have otherwise. And around the world right now, there is a food crisis. There are so many people that don't have food in their belly every day. So, every time I go to the grocery store, I pick up one of those bags that has $10 worth of food in it, and I add it to my bill. It really is nothing, but boy, does it make a significant difference to people. Right now, there are trees laden with apples and fruit that are going to rot. You can go and ask the community about these and go and harvest some of these and give it to people. It's small things that make all the difference. Small hinges swing big doors.
Great quote.
I've spent countless hours raising money for local food banks here in Nova Scotia. They would do an event called Construction. And I worked for an architectural office at the time. So we would design structures out of cans. And then we would find a sponsor to buy all the cans that we need and to do all of the working to make the structure work. And then this whole event would raise even more money for Feed Nova Scotia. A few years after that, I actually had to start going to the food bank for about 3 years. So I am so grateful for people like me who have taken that time to go and donate whatever they can in the moment so that when we need that help, it is there.
Yeah,
it's interesting. Go
it
ahead.
doesn't take much to make a significant difference. All you have to do is take the time to make that significant difference.
I contribute to the actually every month down here, the Human Rights Council. And then in Canada, I've still donate, even though I moved back to to New Jersey, excuse me. I actually donate to the Canadian Mental Health Association. So I have a monthly donation that comes out every month. And when you go to the grocery store and they always say the top ups or a secondhand store, I usually do them all the time because that little bit on the top sometimes can turn into a lot of bit if everyone was to give it. And it really does make a difference for people who really, truly need it.
Dr. Allen. Oh, go ahead.
I'm just going to say thank you both for having me today. I know we've had to reschedule this a couple of times because busy people have busy schedules, but this has really been a high point of my day and a high point of my week. And thank you for letting me be part of your audience lives.
Of course. I just wanted to say that I appreciate you making the effort to reschedule because I know it can be hard sometimes.
Well, it almost didn't happen because we had 2 links for today, and Tammy, my assistant, you're on the wrong link. So all I can say is an interesting thing that when these things happen, you just have to make it happen. And so, something's not going right. Figure it out.
Yep. Every single time. Will you enjoy your day, Dr. Allen, Dr. Al? And
thank you, everybody. And I want everybody to have a fantastic day.
Thank you so much, Dr. Al. You as well. Thank you.
Bye for now.
Bye. So you and I, Leanne, are just going to take a few more minutes, maybe 5-10 minutes or so, to just kind of recap the day. So was there something that stood out to you out of all of our conversations?
Oh my gosh. There's been so many
I know. It's always hard.
aha moments today.
Do you want me to remind you who we interviewed?
Well, I was going to say with Jasia, I would say definitely with, getting in touch with your body and allowing movement when your words are not spoken. Also with Irina, she also touched upon this too, with when you can't, speak the words, I think she was saying work with others to help you get that message across. And then with Dr. Al and him again, doing something for others. And it's this common message. And I think the theme is collaboration, because we can't do all of this by ourselves. I think sometimes we get into this like soldier attitude that we need to do things. If we do it alone, then that makes us relevant or that makes us strong. But really, strength comes from within. You already have the strength. You were already designed to be strong. Collaboration is reaffirming that strength. And it's bringing that all together. And I think from every one of them, the pieces that everyone talked about, I mean, they all mentioned their accolades, and every single one of them was humble about it, which I loved. But it's, I think, what their vision is of who they're serving, right? They serve themselves first, but I think who they're putting the energy into afterwards, you know, there's that common theme that everybody wanted to give back and just make people have the day that they had, or make them have the vision that they had on their life and share that vision with others who struggle to find it.
I know.
That would be what I would say.
Yeah. One of the other patterns of the day is recognizing that the you of today is perfectly positioned to help the you of yesterday. And so all of them are finding that community of the people like them today, as well as the people like them from yesterday, to make that communication and that collaboration, to bring it all together so that more change can happen beyond the one-on-one, but maybe one on many. And that's how like exponential change starts to happen.
Yeah, it's a lovely way to say it.
Oh, I love it. Earlier, when it was just you and I was doing some math on my phone. So it's not like I'm ignoring people, but I was doing some math. I'm like, how many interviews have I done where I've asked this question? I've done almost 250 interviews where I've asked this question. I've done over 350 interviews just in the last 3 years. And the amount of conversations that I've had with people, it's still the same kind of thing. It's still, I'm seeing who I was. I have to learn to love who I used to be. Then I can come from that place of better self-awareness, better love, better understanding to articulate and clarify for people who are still stuck there and have those blinders on and they don't know what's going on and they don't have the language. These stories, these interviews help to create that language so they can start to take off the blinders and start to see what's around them.
And it's so hard to, like, I think of myself with everything that I have faced, because I definitely spent a lot of energy on my own personal growth with my health. I've had a lot of challenges and not being able to do the things I want to do when I wanted to do them.
Yeah.
But one thing I will say, and I catch myself sometimes, so I hope with people who are listening, please don't dismiss your efforts, because even if they're not on a grandiose stage, even if they're not for the 8 billion people on this planet, little things matter. And you don't have to be big to make an imprint on this world. And even if you haven't done everything that has been even stated today, that doesn't make you less than. Because you have instilled in other people's lives, even behind closed doors, even in smaller stages, like a doctor's office or a mental health treatment facility or a chronic pain support group. Those places, if you showed up, you helped others who showed up to come back, because your presence being there is an energy that those people look forward to seeing, because you got yourself out of bed that day and they are there with you. So never dismiss your value in comparison to others. We're all on the same pedestal. I know a lot of us, including myself, have put myself below that pedestal for years because I was struggling so much. And self-confidence. And now I'm like, you know what? I am on the same level. And the only person that was putting myself below was me. And the reason I bring that up and why that's so relevant is that your story matters. Your voice matters. Your vision matters. It doesn't have to be large. It still counts. We are all ending up in the same place. We all come the same way and we all leave the same way. So it doesn't matter how you make your mark, just make that mark.
It's like dumping out this bin of Lego and saying, build something.
Yeah.
The same bucket of Lego, but we all make something different.
Or you get onto those sharp pieces and you're like, ouch. I think of that meme when someone shows the shark out of the water, like, oh, they just stepped on a Lego.
But they've never stepped on a D4.
Yeah, no kidding.
No.
But no,
Okay.
it's so true though. It is. And I think sometimes we have a tendency to forget that not everybody is where we are, and we always forget that. And I think it's so important. And I think Dr. L was saying that is bring people up. You mentioned that too, Laura. And I think everyone today as well, Arena and also Jasia, we're all mentioning people that they've brought forward without even forcing that message. It just came through in their message because they know what they've been through. And, we have a tendency in this world to dismiss our effort in comparison to other people. And I think if we spent more energy on supporting our effort, we're going to see the world change in our eyes and in this lifetime. The more people that do that change, and it starts within ourselves. Make it within me, and we can bring that to others.
Definitely. Okay, so everyone, this is the end of day 2 for Blue Talk's Amplify Your Message. I just want to say thank you to my co-host Leanne, who asked lots of questions, put in lots of stories and insights. Like I love the engagement where it doesn't have to be asking the interviewee a bajillion questions, because that's not me. Totally not me. I like the conversation style. I want it to feel like we're sitting on a couch in somebody's house having a conversation. And I hope that those watching live or on the replay have kind of felt some of that energy where we're just here to play and enjoy each other's company while learning a thing or two at the same time. So I will remind people that tomorrow is day 3, same bat time, same bat channel. So we will be on Facebook and LinkedIn and YouTube at 10 a.m. Eastern. And usually we go till 2:30 p.m. Eastern as well. But our last guest could not make it today due to emergency stuff. So that is perfectly fine. Again, life happens. Tech issues happen. We go with the flow. We do as best as we can in the moment. So with that being said, we're just going to shake it out. We're going to color our nose red. We're going to dance a little bit. We're going to sing. We're going to bake. We're going to do all kinds of creative things. And I will see you tomorrow. So bye, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, Laura. Thank you so much for this wonderful day. Thank you.
And then we dance and sing on the way up.